What's going on, fellow A-Plussers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today with some big Star Wars news as Ryan Gosling joins a galaxy far, far away, along with the new Jedi Order picking up a brand new writer. We also got some news in regards to Robert Eggers, as fresh off of his hit horror film Nosferatu. He's got 2 new projects he's going to be talking about. We're also going to dive into some brand new MCU news and DCU and a ton more, guys. So sit back, relax, enjoy your evening with us, and we'll see you on the other side. What's going on, fellow A-Plussers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We are back from a nice little weekend hiatus as this is, our second, maybe third show of the new year. Freshly back from my stint out in Georgia, getting the opportunity to visit my family for about a week or so. But I'm back. It is just myself here today. Usually when we do this, rocking solo dolo today. So usually when we do the evening shows for A-Plus Hero Report, it's usually myself here. Stuart was not able to join us tonight, but that's certainly more than fine. We'll definitely be breaking down all the news for you guys today, wrapping up the week for you guys also. So yeah, we got some incredible topics. We have some honorable mentions, 6 main topics for you guys today, and then of course towards the end of the show we'll definitely be diving into your live viewer questions. But I missed you guys, man. I missed you guys. It's certainly good to be back, to certainly say the least. A lot of stuff has certainly happened while I was gone, but yeah, man, now that we are fully into the new year here, we're about to wrap up the month of January. I took the last 6 or 7 days to go ahead and visit my parents out in Georgia. This was the first time that my little boy, as of 3 years old, jumped on an airplane for the very first time. That was a really fun experience, to certainly say the least. I'm proud of him for handling it well, with the exception of maybe some whining here or there during the taxiing process and just ready to get up into the air. But it was definitely a fun experience, just getting an opportunity to be back in Georgia, see my family again. You know, they usually come out here to Texas, but ever since I had kiddo, you know, the idea of flying with a kiddo is a little it's a I don't want to say, it's not bothersome, it's just feels like a big task, you know what I'm saying? I've never done it before, so definitely I'm nervous, to say the least. But we finally did it, and it was a fantastic time. They did have a snowstorm when we were there. We were actually supposed to leave Wednesday of last week, but it snowed on Tuesday. And Wednesday, we were like, yeah, we're not going to trek through the snow to try and get to the airport. So we moved our trip back home on Thursday, and it worked out beautifully that way. So we spent about maybe 7 days out in Georgia. So nice little time. Girlfriend got the opportunity to enjoy her 40th birthday, to certainly say the least. So yeah, I wish my girlfriend a happy birthday. But yeah, we're back now, back in the swing of things, getting ready for Oscar season here in March. We got some upcoming series to look forward to. Daredevil Born Again, March 2nd. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the animated series, here in like 3 days, if I'm not mistaken, dropping this Wednesday. So a lot of great things about to be around the corner here. We'll definitely get into a little bit more, but just a heads up for everybody, your boy is a little bit under the weather. I felt fine when I was in Georgia, but coming back home to like 5 dogs, 4 cats, my allergies just hit me immediately. I got that scratchy throat syndrome going on, you know what I'm saying, that sore throat. But I got my tea here, got my whiskey and some honey in here, so hopefully it'll help me get through the entirety of this show. So be patient with your boy if I gotta use some Kleenex every now and then. But I appreciate everybody certainly joining us here. Look, do us a big favor, hit that like button, man, if you haven't done so yet. It's free. It's quick. It literally takes like 1 second. Wherever you're watching us from, if you're on YouTube, smash that like button. If you're watching us on Twitter, hit that like button, retweet us, share us, let people know that we're currently live here today. I know I'm competing with the AFC Championship game, which is going strong for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Last time I checked the score, it was like 21-16 at halftime. So we'll see. I know we got some competition here tonight, but definitely go ahead and let me know where you guys are certainly watching us from. And look, as I go through these topics, since it's just myself here, I want to be able to discuss some things with you guys. Let's have some conversation. Let's have some discussion. Whatever we talk about here is simply our A plus opinions, but I always want to hear yours. The live chat is open. If you guys want to drop some comments in, certainly go ahead and do so. I love pointing you guys out and giving you guys opportunities to share your thoughts on some of these topics. So let's go ahead and dive into that. And as we do, look, if you want to submit a live viewer question also too, we're going to get to those live viewer questions at the end of the show. But you can go over to our YouTube channel, click on that community tab, and there is a live viewer post if you want to go ahead and submit one over. Enrique, hey Adam, just saw the first clip behind the scenes footage of Captain America 4 Brave New World. Yeah, we did highlight that over on our Facebook page. Looks good. Anthony Mackie talking a little bit about how personal this film is for him. Excited to have Harrison Ford. I'm eager to see what this movie is going to turn out to be like. He also says, also the first clip behind the scenes of upcoming new series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and it'll be arriving this week on Disney Plus. Yeah, we also dropped that over on our Facebook page too. It's only coming in about like a minute or so. But, I continue to hear the complaints about the animation style, and that's fair. It may not necessarily work for everybody. For me personally, it does work. I do want to see what it looks like as an entirety of a complete episode. The trailer, some of the action sequences look pretty dynamic with that style of animation. But, if you're just talking just regular back and forth dialogue, still characters and stuff, a little janky, I'm sure for some people, but there is something really appealing for me as a comic book fan first. Get an opportunity to see that style of artwork, which is very reminiscent of Steve Ditko, kind of literally come to life. Like when I watch the animation, I really feel like I'm watching a moving sort of comic book, if you will. So it also has that feeling of like classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Like when I look at it, for some reason, I feel like I'm watching like a Johnny Quest of old. Somebody, I think, in one of the comments I saw connected it to Archer. And sometimes that art style works for some people and sometimes it doesn't, so it's certainly to each its own, but I'm going to give it a shot. I've heard some good things about it so far, but we'll see how it works. First two episodes drop on January 29th. So this Wednesday. Nickelodeon is going to be premiere first 6 episodes of the first season of Tales of Mutant Ninja Turtle Paramount series in January. That series hasn't come out yet? I swore I thought that series dropped. Oh, Nickelodeon is premiering it. I thought I read that wrong. So it is up on Paramount Plus. I need to go ahead and check it out, but it looks like they are premiering it on Nickelodeon now come February. Thanks for that heads up, Enrique. First trailer for the animated Smurfs movie will be coming out March 8th. Is that the Super Bowl? That might be the Super Bowl. I'm eager to kind of find out as we get closer. What Super Bowl's in like 2 weeks? I will be interested to see like what Super Bowl trailers we wind up getting for upcoming movies. I'm hoping for maybe like a Jurassic World Rebirth. I think that would be really cool if we got one of those. We literally, we'll talk about this in honorable mention, but we did get ourselves a little bit of a tease, a brand new teaser, if you will, teaser TV spot for Superman. I do wonder if they would pull the trigger on the official trailer on Super Bowl or not. So we'll see. Also saw the Oscar nominations with Inside Out 2, Wild Robot. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the animations, the Oscar nominations here shortly. Enrique says, finally saw the first look trailer, opening, ending, and cast reveal, plus episode 0 for Super Sentai 50. Yeah, we might dive into that a little bit too for our honorable mentions. A lot of stuff happened, sort of like within the past 24 hours that I was like, ooh, I kind of want to add this to this week's show. So we'll see. Because it's just myself here. We might have some fun and play around with some things. Blossom, good to see you, Blossom. Appreciate you coming through today. Marcelino, always coming through as always, man. Mr. Reliable over here. Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga have been nominated for Razzies. Damn, really? I don't know why. I don't think their performance was bad. Like the movie itself, if people want to make it a Razzie, okay, that's fine. I'll concede to that. But I never felt that their performances were Razzie performances. Not at all. Is it a case of like if the movie's a Razzie, everything's got to be a Razzie? But who knows? But appreciate you keeping me informed on that, Marcelino. But yeah, guys, look, if you have any thoughts, this is what we like to do. We like to go ahead and bring up your comments on the channel. Even if you're watching us on Twitch, feel free to go ahead and or Twitter, whatever you're watching this from, feel free to comment. I think Twitter comments pop up in here. I'm not quite sure. We should test that one day. But all right, guys. With that out of the way, I think we have more honorable mentions that I eventually added. So let's go ahead and kick off this week's episode. Oops, you know what? I'm hitting the wrong buttons, man. I'm rusty being gone a week. Marcelino says the Razzies are not funny. They're just beating on dead jokes and putting down people who are not the problem with the movie. Gotcha. Okay. I've never watched the Razzies before. I've just heard of them. But let's get into some honorable mentions, y'all. Actually, I want to change this. Can I? You know what? Actually, I'll leave that. Let's get into some honorable mentions here for you guys today. If you're new to the channel, honorable mentions are pretty much topics that we felt you certainly deserve to know about, but that we did not highlight as our top 6 topics to certainly discuss, but felt you guys certainly should be aware as to what's going on. First thing here, let's see here. What should we pop up first? Oh, one movie that I was actually really eager to learn more about and finally see was revealed at Fantastic Fest back in 2023. And that was The Toxic Avenger. This movie, since its premiere at the Fantastic Fest, has really been nowhere to be found, unfortunately. But this week, Variety.com is reporting the movie is set to go ahead and get a release in 2025. That's right. It says it is headed to theaters this particular year. It says the Toxic Avenger reboot will premiere as an unrated wide release later this year. I wonder what the idea of unrated could possibly mean. He says, I'm beyond grateful to the team behind the Toxic Avenger, who was so supportive and steady-handed as we search for the perfect distribution partner for our film. It is so cool that folks will have the chance to see it in theaters. It's a fun, rowdy movie you'll want to see with a crowd. Mutant hero smashes bad guys with a mop. Perfect entertainment for the whole family. Our goal was to always to preserve the heart and the spirit of the original Toxie, and try to make something that the Trauma fans would dig, and at the same time do something with the character that feels fresh. So no word yet as to the actual release date, or how wide of a release they plan on giving it, but we can't expect the Toxic Avenger to drop in 2025. Let's see here. What else we got? Oh, James Gunn is back in the news. Let's dive into some really quick news here for you guys. Apparently, James Gunn is currently pre-writing his next project. He went and spoke with somebody on Threads, said the bulk of my time right now is dealing with post-production on Superman and Peacemaker, but I'm also spending a fair amount of time pre-writing my next DC Studios project and watching dailies and offering ideas on the other projects. So it's much less overwhelming than when I was directing. So yeah, he's working on his pre-writing his next project. If anything, I am curious as to what that could potentially be, if you ask me. The first thing that came to my mind was with Creature Commandos officially being picked up for a season 2. I do wonder if that's something that he was working on. I have heard some people say, somebody else brought up to me maybe possibly The Authority he might be working on, which would be really cool. They haven't announced a writer attached to that yet. Or a director. I have really no idea the direction that The Authority is going to go in, but that's just another option. So I am kind of curious what you guys think James Gunn is currently working on next, or what he certainly might tackle. What's up, PJ? Good to see you, PJ. Thank you so much for coming through. He says the original was absolute B movie nuts. Can't wait till it's a reboot. Talking about the Toxic Avenger. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. He says, Marcelino also says here, people say that they will refuse to watch Toxic Avenger because they don't want to support Peter Dinklage after what he said about the dwarves in Snow White. You know, to each their own, man. To each their own. Speaking of the DCU, let's get to something here real quick. Supergirl is in production, ladies and gentlemen. This is our very first look behind the scenes at Supergirl, starring Millie Alcock along with Jason Momoa, who will be playing the Lobo character, and a ton more. But this is our very first look at the set. Also, a glimpse at the logo design. Also, I do wonder. Clearly, the crest is the same, but interesting color scheme to certainly go around this way. I am kind of curious if this will be sort of the official logo for Supergirl, if they're gonna switch it up, and differentiate it a little bit from the Superman movie that's set to go ahead and drop in July. Supergirl is set to go ahead and release sometime in 2026. It will be the next DCU project after Superman, film wise at least. But filming has begun. Some people, if you've read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, this shot should look pretty accurate to you guys. This is sort of almost taken directly out of the comic book. So we will have the bar sequence from the comic book series in live action form here. So pretty cool to kind of see them holding on to some level of comic accuracy. You know, Lobo, I don't believe was in the Woman of Tomorrow comic book, but Tom King does reference he was in the original script. So I am curious as to how the writer Anna Noguera will be fitting Jason Momoa in as Lobo in here. But Supergirl is being filmed. It wouldn't surprise me if, like, in the next 2 weeks, if we get an official first look at Millie Alcock as Supergirl. I hope they do before filming wraps. I don't know if this is going to be filmed completely on sets, if they have any sort of location pieces where, you know, the thing with Superman and us getting an opportunity to see David Cornsweet as Superman beforehand, you know, the image of him putting on his boots, because they were getting ready to start filming on location and they knew that paparazzi and stuff was going to be there, so they want to kind of get ahead of it. I do wonder if that's going to be the same thing with Millie Alcock as Supergirl, if we can expect maybe a photo of her in costume here within the next week or two. So keep your eyes peeled. And then also, when it comes to DC, I might as well go ahead and this dropped earlier today, which I was not expecting, but we did get ourselves a brand new teaser spot for Superman. It's only like a 30-second spot. Some images, two brief glimpses at new images that I found rather fascinating and interested to show you guys. If you haven't had the opportunity to see it yet, you probably have. It's been almost everywhere. Well, let's go ahead and pull this up here. Go over to our Facebook page. It's just 30 seconds long, but let's dive into this. There you go. Boom, baby. So the first new image here clip is Lex Luthor and quote unquote Ultraman coming off the airplane. Clearly what seems to be looking for the Fortress of Solitude in some capacity or another. And then after that, we do have the shot of Superman. We saw this brief clip here in the teaser for the teaser, where we saw just his cape flapping, but we get the continuation here of a fantastic barrel roll into a forward-facing camera angle. And there you have it. I am curious what you guys think about it. I'm a big fan. The color scheme looks great, if you ask me. I know some people felt a little bit weird about the idea of his cape being part of the collar, but I think it looks great. I think the fact that it's kind of covering his shoulders here, I think really works. Love the way that it's flapping in the wind sort of thing. The emblem is relatively big on his chest when you look at it from this angle. But I love the perspective. I really love this view here. I will also say, look, I'm a big Henry Cavill fan as Superman too. I'm a big fan of Man of Steel. I think it's a really underrated film. And really one of my favorite moments in that entirety is checking out Henry Cavill's first flight as Superman. That attached with the incredible Hans Zimmer score. I mean, I don't even know how many times I've watched that movie, but every time I watch it, it literally gives me goosebumps and chills, right? So I'm not one to really compare and contrast because this is simply just one shot of a movie. But I am interested to kind of see what James Gunn does with his flight for Superman. I mean, I do think that this one clip is really dynamic and beautifully handled, especially with the barrel roll. The nice little smirk here from David Cornsweet, right? Looks like he's having some fun, whether he's going to or from the Fortress of Solitude here. But one of the things that I will say is, James Gunn's been very open about having inspiration from Top Gun Maverick in regards to how he shot these flight sequences. The addition of utilizing drones for a lot of these sequences too. So I am interested to kind of see how James Gunn adapts and really makes sort of Superman's flight more dynamic and unique to anything that we've kind of seen before. But I saw this on social media first, and then I watched it a couple times on my phone. And I heard a couple of people talk about, the special effects don't look too good. What's going on with his face, sort of thing. It doesn't really bother me, to be quite frank with you, because I ended up seeing this on my big television screen at home when I was watching an NFC Championship game earlier today. It looks great. When I watch it on the big screen TV, it looks great. I have absolutely no problems with it. So I do think once this transfers over to Dolby and into IMAX, I don't think we're going to see the issues that maybe some people are certainly seeing. But I personally think it's a gorgeous shot. Honestly, I'm really a big fan of it. So I'm eager to kind of see what they do with it, kind of going forward. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the we wind up getting here today. And then last but not least, it's Oscar time, baby. March 9th, I believe, is the Oscars. I'll let you guys know here in a minute. But just some of the nominations that we have, the most important ones, really. Best Picture, currently out right now. Out of this list, I've only seen Wicked. That's not true. I've seen Wicked, and a couple days ago, I just watched Conclave. I may be going through all of these films here within the next month or so and bringing you guys my reviews before Oscars wind up dropping. But we have Anora, The Brutalist, which is like 3.5 hours long, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, and The Substance, along with Wicked. On our Facebook page, we do have a listing of where you can find all of these movies, whether that be streaming or even maybe even still in theaters as of right now. So definitely go ahead and check it out. Some other Oscar nominations that we have. Let me see if I can pull some of these up. We already went through Best Picture. Best Actress, Cynthia Erivo from Wicked, Carla Gascon from Emilia Perez, Mickey Madison from Anora, Demi Moore from The Substance, and Fernanda Torres from I'm Still Here. In regards to Best Actor, Adrian Brody is up here for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, which is another movie that I really want to see in theaters, directed by James Mangold, who's going to be doing the next Star Wars movie, or a Star Wars movie. Coleman Domingo from Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes from Conclave. Great performance. I actually really enjoyed him. And Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice. I have not seen The Apprentice, but I did just see Sebastian Stan in another movie on Max, I believe it was, called A Different Man. Great movie. I had a really great time with that. Supporting actress, Monica Barbaro from A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande from Wicked. She was really good in that movie. Felicity Jones, The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini from Conclave, and Zoe Saldana from Emilia Perez. Isabella Rossellini. I feel like there was like such a limited performance of any female actors in Conclave that I'm like, how did she get a supporting actress role? To be honest with you, crazy. James Mangold is up for Best Director for A Complete Unknown. Brady Corbett from The Brutalist, Sean Baker from Anora, Jacques Audiard from Emilia Perez, and Coralie Fargett from The Substance. Man, good luck, James Mangold. That'd be kind of crazy to have a best director winner helming the next Star Wars movie, to certainly say the least. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and check it out, I'm sure you can find them online for the other other nominations also. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Oscars. Is there a date here? Let me just see if I can. March 2nd. I said March 9th originally, March 2nd. So I'm definitely going to be trying to catch all of these movies and review them for you. So yeah, let me know if you've seen any of those films this year. I would love to know. PJ says a complete unknown and the brutalist will pull away from the pack. I think out of the entirety of the list, those are like the two that are on the top of my list of ones that I want to see. I had been meaning to see a complete unknown before I left to go to Georgia a couple of weeks ago, and I just couldn't make it happen. So maybe this time, maybe sometime this week, I'll try and catch at least two movies in the movie theaters, and a complete unknown being one of them. And the brutalist, I do like Adrian Brody as an actor, so I do want to check that out. I know it's a long movie, but I don't mind, especially if it's got an intermission. So appreciate the heads up on that, PJ. Marcelino says there's Waller. I'm talking about James Gunn's, what he could be working on. Yeah, Waller's definitely one, because it was originally supposed to come first before Peacemaker 2. That's a good point for sure. He said, I hope Superman Lex takes a back seat and they allow other lesser known Superman villains to shine. The Lex Luthor fatigue is real. I will be interested to see what Nicholas Hoult can do as Lex. I feel like every time that I see him on screen, I get more and more fascinated to kind of see like what route he's going to go as a character himself. And I am still questioning the idea of Ultraman there. Like I know people claim that it's Ultraman, but there's a part of me that feels like I wonder, is that Bizarro? Could there possibly be like a Bizarro? Like, is Lex working on some sort of clone? Like, I am kind of curious as to like how Lex even gets into the Fortress of Solitude. Like, does this man not have like security system on his fortress sort of thing? So there is a part of me like, if Lex finds Fortress, like how does he get in? Is what's under that black, you know, costume, is that an Ultraman? Is that sort of like a Bizarro Superman? I don't know. I will be interested to see what route James Gunn goes with this one, though. So we'll see. We'll see how big of a role they have. Except from what I've heard, Amelia Perez should not be on the list, basically repeating the stereotypes that Green Book did. I have not watched Amelia Perez, but I swear everybody that I have heard that has watched it absolutely bashes that movie. So we'll see. I definitely want to check it out for myself, though. But yeah, guys, with that out of the way, man, let's get into some main topics. Let's kick off this show. We got 6 that we're going to be getting into today. I really wish I had my boy Stuart here, especially when it comes to talking about Star Wars, baby. Let's get into our Star Wars bag here, because we got some big things that are certainly happening in the Star Wars world as we patiently await Andor season 2, which drops in April, if I'm not mistaken. We will be getting our High Council back for Andor season reviews for you guys. So if you enjoyed sort of our perspectives and point of view on series like Skeleton Crew, along with the Acolyte, we will be getting back together for Andor season 2. So definitely look forward to that. But we got a couple things currently in development right now. We got The Mandalorian and Grogu that has wrapped filming, isn't currently in post-production. We have James Mangold. That seems like he's talking a little bit more and more about the Dawn of the Jedi. I am curious if that is his next project after things like the Oscars finish up. I do believe him and an Andor writer are putting together the script right now. So whether or not James Mangold is going to be doing that full time going forward after A Complete Unknown, that I don't know, but we'll definitely see. And then another movie that recently was sort of thrusted out there into the limelight is getting a lot of attention now these days, and it seems like it may be getting a further push than a lot of us first expected, with with a lot of these names dropping in regards to this person gets a project, this person gets a project, this person gets a project, but nothing really like formulating. The Shawn Levy Star Wars seems like it's really picking up momentum here, guys. Shawn Levy, fresh off of Deadpool and Wolverine, along with the Adam Project, is going to be tackling a Star Wars movie. He seems like his movie may, in fact, be the one that goes into production next. That will certainly have to wait and see when it comes to Star Wars movies. Like at this point, it's like, let's let the films roll before I begin to believe that a film is actually in production. But word is coming out that a huge star that you guys will certainly recognize, and good old Ryan Gosling, is now officially attached to this Shawn Levy Star Wars project. Look, you guys know my love for Ryan Gosling. While I didn't necessarily think The Fall Guy was like movie of the year, it was a really fun movie, and I really enjoyed Ryan Gosling in it. I loved his chemistry with Emily Blunt. So to see one of my favorite actors going today in a Star Wars movie for me is truly exciting. But let's see. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's go ahead and bring this up. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Star Wars shocker, Ryan Gosling in talks to star in the Shawn Levy's movie. This is an exclusive report from the Hollywood Reporter. Ryan Gosling is headed to the great galaxy far, far away. Three-time Oscar nominee is in negotiations to top-line the Star Wars feature project that will be directed by Deadpool and Wolverine filmmaker Shawn Levy. Details on any Star Wars project are harder to acquire. Levy has been in development of his Star Wars feature since 2022. So while it's 2023, he's clearly been working on this for about a good 2 years right now. I don't want to say he's been hush hush about it. I mean, people have asked about it in his Deadpool and Wolverine sort of press junkets and stuff. But if this has kind of been really going under the radars, it says he's been working on the script for over a year now. Levy is also producing the feature film as well, alongside Kathleen Kennedy. It is unclear when Levi's project is set. Star Wars stories have run the gamut of hundreds of years, detailing the going on of a galactic republic turned dictatorship turned rebellion. It is also unclear if it concerns Jedis and their enemies, the Sith. It is, however, to be unconnected to the so-called Skywalker saga. The story centers on well-established and beloved characters like Luke Skywalker and his father Anakin. So very much unconnected to the so-called Skywalker saga. It is meant to be a standalone movie. Lucasfilm had no comment. Sources say that Gosling's development is a late-in-the-game move for Levi's movie schedule. The filmmaker was eyeing to direct a boy band movie set up at Paramount, which would have reunited him with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, but Gosling's interest and involvement suddenly shifted Star Wars project into hyperspace. So that's interesting to me. This really kind of implies the idea here that Levy was planning to do another movie entirely, but with Gosling showing interest and now kind of being thrusted into there, I can see Lucasfilm being in that mindset now of, oh my God, we've got Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling wants to be in this movie. Let's make this your next movie, Shawn. But yeah, it says Gosling's interest and involvement suddenly shift the Star Wars project into hyperspace. If a deal makes, again, they're in talks, but if a deal makes, the project will continue to fly like the Millennium Falcon, becoming not only Levi's next movie, but also the next Star Wars movie to go in production, with cameras potentially rolling this fall. The Mandalorian and Grogu wrapped in mid-December and will be released May 22, 2026. Gosling's boarding will mark a rare occasion that a Star Wars feature brings aboard an actual A-lister. Gosling was name checked for a Star Wars part back in 2023 when rumors spread online that he and Zac Efron were eyed by Abrams, who would eventually go on to become Kylo Ren. So interesting. So this is not the first time that Ryan Gosling has clearly dabbled in trying to become a part of Star Wars, but now that he's become a 3-time Oscar nominee, his name certainly does carry a ton of weight here. And boy, I personally would love to see this become a reality, y'all. I truly would. This is one of my favorite actors currently going right now. Maybe not my favorite, but like when I think of like A-listers and like really great looking lead men sort of thing, Ryan Gosling definitely jumps up to that top of the list there. Timothée Chalamet is certainly up there too. I just think Ryan Gosling's a really talented dude. I think he's got incredible range, to be quite frank with you. I loved him in Drive. If you're a musical guy, I loved him in La La Land also. the Nice Guys. He was really good in that also. So Ryan Gosling definitely has range. So I will be as fascinated to kind of see this work out. Usually when they say that they're in talks, for the most part, it usually lands. I want to say there was a recent moment when it didn't land, when we heard who was the Josh Brolin was in talks to play Hal Jordan, I believe, in Lanterns, but that fell through. Negotiations just unfortunately did not work. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that negotiations with Ryan Gosling do work out here. Clearly, he must see something in the Shawn Levy script that really works for him and really interests him. And look, while I enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, I remember people hyping up Deadpool and Wolverine to be like the movie to save the MCU. I don't necessarily felt like it saved the MCU, but it definitely did bring in a ton of money for sure. Had a lot of really positive and great momentum. I know people that went and saw it loved it. I certainly enjoyed it for what it was. I think it's one of the better of the three Deadpool movies for sure. But I do love Shawn Levy's work. I think he's got himself no pun intended, a levity about his characters, the atmosphere, the tone, his pacings and stuff. I think the Adam Project might have been sort of like a rehearsal or something like that for a Star Wars movie. So I do think that Shawn Levy could bring a lot of fun and adventure to a Star Wars movie. And fresh off of something like Skeleton Crew, which was very much that Goonies coming of age, sort of, well, I don't want to say coming of age, but very much like a Goonies Amblin style sort of fun adventure. I don't expect him to Shawn Levy to get into that emblem sort of Steven Spielberg type of mode, but in regards to an enjoyable script, enjoyable characters, fun, action, danger, adventure, I could definitely use something like that when it comes to Star Wars. If anything, I have been hearing rumors too that while this is unconnected to the Star Wars Skywalker saga, there have been rumors that Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker may pop up in here, whether that be a cameo or I don't know how big or small of a role that she would play. But for me personally, if I'm going to be making Star Wars movies, anything in the New Republic era or the New Jedi Order era, wherever this movie takes place in, I do think having a Rey Skywalker cameo is really important, even if they're not necessarily, if it's an unconnected film. I think just having her in there to kind of add to her legacy a little bit more before she even gets into a new Jedi Order movie for herself, I think would really do her character wonders in here. I have no idea who Ryan Gosling would even play. Maybe he's a smuggler. I mean, I feel like when I think of Ryan Gosling, I do think of like the Han Solo type. But that doesn't mean that this guy doesn't have range to be a main villain or a Jedi of some sort. So I think the possibilities are certainly endless here. And I'm not gonna lie too, like Shawn Levy has done so much work with Ryan Reynolds. I am so glad that there's another Ryan attached to one of his projects. Like I truly am. Like I really want to see what he can do with another A-list actor here, and really see like what he can really tap into emotion wise, Star Wars wise for that universe as a whole. So I think this is a really big win. I have faith in Ryan Gosling. I have faith in Shawn Levy in regards to his filmmaking set. A lot of his movies I've really had a fun time checking out, and I think Star Wars could really use something like this. So I hope negotiations go well because, yes, I would love to see this be sort of the next film. And Star Wars needs a win, man. I mean, outside of the Skeleton Crew recently, Star Wars could really use some positive news right now. So yeah, bring this on, man. Bring this on. I'm really excited for this potential project. What's up, Ram Jam? Good to see you, buddy. Marcelino says some people say that Lucasfilm is trying to get Ryan Gosling. Some people say Lucasfilm is trying to get Ryan Gosling because they're hoping A-list celebrities will bring audiences to theaters, not because he's suited for the role. And that's just pessimism. That's just people that don't know what they're talking about. I and I say that respectively because that's just a dumbass idea. Like, there's so many A-list actors out there. Like, if anything, I don't want to say I would aim higher, but there's so many other names that you can try and bring in also. Like, while I love Ryan Gosling, I don't know how much, like, while the nice guys, or not the nice guys, while the Fall Guy was an enjoyable movie, I don't necessarily know if Ryan Gosling fills seats like somebody like a Denzel or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if Ryan Gosling movies are like, while I and personally enjoy him, I don't know if Ryan Gosling's viewed as, oh my God, a Ryan Gosling's movie is coming out, we gotta check it out, right? Like, it's like a can't miss sort of thing. So for Lucasfilm to bet all their money on Ryan Gosling to get people out to go see movies in theaters, I think there's other actors you can probably gone with, right? Like, give me a Tom Cruise, bro, if you really want that. So I think that's pessimism talking, and people that have no idea what they're talking about just because he doesn't suit the role, but he's going to bring on. That's just not how it works. That's just not the reality of things. If Ryan Gosling is cast, I hope that they make him an alien, complete with prosthetics, humans as the main characters, done to death on Star Wars. I mean, I get it. I don't know. I mean, look at his face, bro. Look at his face. I don't think you cover that man up in fit with makeup. But then again, I said that about Jeremy Allen White too, from The Bear and Shameless. And they decked him out in makeup. They got him playing Rhoda the Hutt. You know what I'm saying? So Ryan Gosling, I mean, maybe if you keep his face, but you have like some prosthetics, maybe he's got like gills or something, or some weird hairstyle, or like antennas, maybe. But I don't think you cover him up in complete makeup or like behind a mask or anything like that. Blossom says, I've seen better looking guys than him. Dude is like Leonardo DiCaprio of today. Still don't see what's so cool about him. I mean, I dig him as an actor. I really do. He was in no, I'm thinking of another actor in damn, what was that other movie? It was an Edgar Wright film that I'm thinking about, but no, that wasn't him. But yeah, I do like Ryan Gosling as an actor, and I am excited to see him potentially in a Star Wars movie. But that's not the only Star Wars project that wind up getting some news. There's been slow development on the Rey Skywalker movie, but we possibly have ourselves another writer attached. That's right, another writer attached. I think this is like number 3 or 4. If you guys are aware, I know that we had Damon Lindelof attached to this movie originally. After Damon Lindelof, I do believe we had Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders attached as the writer. Am I missing somebody in between there? Was there another writer that was on board at some time but didn't make the cut? I can't quite remember, but this might be like the 3rd or 4th writer here. But the Daisy Ridley Star Wars movie enlists writer George Nolfi. Let's go ahead and dive into this. If you guys aren't familiar with the name, George Nolfi, known for his screenplay work on movies such as The Bourne Ultimatum and Ocean's 12, has been tapped to write New Jedi Order. The hiring signals continued faith in the project, which was announced to great fanfare almost 2 years ago at Star Wars Celebration in London, but has seen several high-profile writers fall into the trash compactors. Documentary filmmaker Charmaine Obey-Chenoy is due to make her narrative feature debut with the project, with Ridley due to reprise the role of lightsaber-wielding Rey Skywalker, the character she played in the sequel trilogy. The story is said to take place 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, with Ridley's character now a mentor to a new crop of Jedi. Why does it say Jedis? It's Jedi, guys. Come on, guys. There's no plural in Jedi. Damon Lindelof. Oh, that's the other guy. And Justin Britt Gibson were the initial project's writers. And then they brought in Stephen Knight, but he was out by October of last year. The script delays have pushed back any hope for this production to starts of the project, which at one point was being eyed to follow the recently wrapped Mandalorian and Grogu. Instead, the next Star Wars movie that will shoot is set to be the next Shawn Levy movie. That one got a major boost by capturing the interest of Ryan Gosling. So that's fascinating to me, man. That's fascinating to me. Nolfi, if you guys want to know a little bit more about him, is known for writing elevated thrillers across a variety of genres and for establishing strong relationships with his characters. He's worked on 2 Bourne movies, which I believe were Bourne Supremacy and Bourne Ultimatum, which I think by far are like the 2 best out of that trilogy. Not to mention Ocean's 12, before going on to make his directorial debut with The Adjustment Bureau. I think that was another, wasn't Matt Damon in that one too? Maybe I'm tripping. A sci-fi thriller that starred the actor as well as Emily Blunt. He also directed and co-wrote The Banker, a period piece with Anthony Mackie and Samuel L. Jackson. I'm gonna have to check that one out. And then reunited with Mackie in 2024's Elevation, in an indie post-apocalyptic thriller. You know, I got an email to do an early press screening for Elevation and do a review on it, but I wound up catching the email super late, so I missed out on it. But I would have loved to have checked out that film, honestly. So Nolfi's got some interesting writing work behind him. I think the 2 strongest has probably got to be his Bourne movies. I do want to see The Banker. I feel like I've seen The Adjustment Bureau a long time ago, but I don't really recall it. And then Ocean's 12. So reliable writer. He's certainly no slouch whatsoever. I do think I personally would have really have loved Damon Lindelof to certainly stay on board. Even Stephen Knight, especially what he has been able to do when it comes to Peaky Blinders. You know, I think if anything, my issue winds up becoming, you know, I just hope that George Nolfi isn't necessarily just a yes man. You know, I hope it's not one of those things where it's like, look, it's been 2 years. We announced this back on Celebration London. We're literally about to have a Japan celebration here in 2025 in a couple months, and we've got nothing so far. So I hope it's not the case of Kathleen Kennedy and them thinking to themselves, because they have a celebration coming up, that they need to make something happen and have and force somebody into this position just to have a big announcement. Because trust me, he probably will be at Celebration. If anything, I'm hoping by that time he's gotten through a couple of different scripts at least, so he can talk a little bit more about this upcoming movie. But I do hope it's not necessarily a case of we found a guy that's comfortable in working in big companies like this, where we can mold the narrative a little bit of the movie that we want to tell and not allow him to kind of take any sort of creative chances with his writing, right? I mean, when I look at somebody like Damon Lindelof and Stephen Knight, I feel like they're very much the caliber of people of, let me just write and then just do this, and maybe have different perspectives and stuff. And maybe that's why they were never really able to land on what it was that Lucasfilm was certainly trying to go for. So, you know, I hope it's less studio interference, and that George Nolfi isn't necessarily somebody that they feel that they can push around and really force their stuff into his own creative process of putting something together. Because the idea of him and what he's been able to do as a thriller piece in different genres is pretty impressive. So I'm hoping that he can kind of continue certainly along that path. But you know, I'll believe it when I see it, man. I'll believe it when I see it. I think if there is anything encouraging in here, for me, what's encouraging is the idea that they really want to make this movie. That this movie certainly is not dead, that they're certainly while they may strike out and they may not necessarily connect, that they are continuing to kind of push forward and find somebody that could fill that role for them and really bring this movie to life. I will say this. There is a part of me, I want more Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker before this movie drops. I think it's a disservice. Well, again, I don't know what the script is calling for, right? But the idea of like a 15-year jump and she's already a mentor, how did she earn that? Right? Like, how did she earn that? I want to see her mentorship and her order be earned. I don't necessarily know if I want to just jump into a movie and she's got like 10 pupils or something, or she's got like 2 other Jedi Knights under her, and like, you know, they've got or other masters aside from her, sort of thing, right? Like, I don't know what that new Jedi Order is certainly going to look like when we get here, or maybe it's taken her 15 years to like acquire three people under her order. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know necessarily what that looks like. But before she goes on and mentors somebody, I would kind of like to see adventures of her with her own kind of Padawan first. Or, you know, and her earn that role of master for the viewers themselves. So we'll see what this winds up turning out to be. But and that's one of the reasons why I said when we get the Shawn Levy movie, I kind of want to see Ray Skywalker pop up in that also. um I in a weird way, Dawn of the Jedi, while it's certainly a period piece 25,000 years ago, there's a part of me that wouldn't mind like an opening narration of Rey Skywalker, like she's going through the Jedi texts that she wind up taking away from the sequel trilogy and kind of learning along her own personal path. And then we get, you know, a big flashback sequence that is the entire movie of the beginning sort of the Jedi Order and the beginning of the Jedi sort of thing. So I don't know. I just think that there should be other movies and other places where Rey Skywalker pops up in before we get to see her in something like a new Jedi Order, and she's already 15 years in and a mentor to somebody. So you know, again, maybe those are things that you can fill in the gaps as we get closer to the movie. I think that's one thing that Disney did really well from a novel perspective. They did like the road to the upcoming movie, and they would drop like 2 or 3 novels for you if you wanted like extended canon and to kind of fill in some of the blanks. You could read other books that would then sort of connect into the movies themselves or give you some sort of different exposition before you got into those movies. So maybe they do something along those lines and give us a brief little trilogy series of Rey Skywalker novels. I have no idea what they have in store, but I want to see more of her. I want to see more of her. I feel like she will be respected a little bit more if we see other trials and tribulations that she goes through besides just a trilogy of her own. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I am kind of curious to know what you guys think, though, at the end of the day. But yeah, the Daisy Ridley movie acquires its third writer. We'll see. We'll see how that lasts. We'll see how that comes along. Daisy Ridley has a new movie coming soon, which is a spy thriller called The Cleaner. Hasn't that come out yet? I thought that might have come out already. Maybe I'm mistaken though. The trailers look kind of ridiculous to me, honestly, for The Cleaner. He said, I hope Daisy really gets cast as Jessica Drew. That would be pretty cool. I would love to see her as a Spider Woman. Some people say that there should be an animated series, Clone Saga style, taking place after Rise of the Skywalker. I don't know if I necessarily need Clone War style, like animation wise, but I would be open for it for sure. Even like a Ray Skywalker's television series, like give me a 1 or 2 seasons of Daisy Ridley as a Ray Skywalker. I take a live action of that. But animation works too, especially if Daisy's going to voice her. When Lucasfilm kept losing writers, there were a lot of people thrilled because they didn't want a Ray movie and thought that Lucasfilm was giving the fans what they wanted. No, they, you know, one of the reports is she is their biggest moneymaker right now. As far as like characters that they've managed to create, I would say her and Kylo are the 2 biggest ones. You know, some people would laugh that off and be like, that's ridiculous, Adam. But I've seen, trust me, when I go to conventions, I see Ray Skywalkers everywhere, my guy. I see them everywhere, right? So there's definitely a fan base for Ray Skywalker. And look, this is just a repeat of the pushback that the prequel trilogy got. In 15, 20 years, there's going to be a whole generation of people that grew up with the sequel trilogies here, and they're going to think that they're the best thing ever kind of given to us. So they'll be celebrating this in 10, 15 years. I think the loud noise of people that have not liked Ray Skywalker, I continue to say Disney should just stick their head in the sand. Lucasfilm, stick your head in the sand and create what you want to create and do your best to kind of uplift this character, make great content surrounding this character that's undeniably great for some people, and make her be worthy of grabbing people's attention. So I have a feeling that's what they want to do. I think that's what they need to do. And the fact that they haven't given up on this movie, I think they feel the same way in the sense of she deserves another movie. She's Daisy really still young. You just have to really have a competent script, and one that's really good in the sense of being able to elevate her to sort of that next level, if you will, of gaining people's respect, if you will. Even though she's already got the respect of some other people, but for sure, I mean. So yeah, this is definitely not them giving what they want, because clearly 3 writers in, you still have this mindset of releasing this film, and I think they have every reason to. I am still fascinated by the choice of director and Charmaine Obey-Chenoy. To me, when I think of that, I am curious as to what the vision of what this movie would look like. There is something appealing to the idea of, like, is this movie going to be filmed sort of like in documentary style, right? Following the trials and tribulations of Rey and her having moments of time and meditation to write down, journal entries. And like, if it's going to be filmed sort of like a documentary style, I think that's really cool in regards to a unique kind of take on a Star Wars movie. So I do think that there is hope for this to be a really good film. But the idea of it having 3 writers in will certainly worry a lot of people. Hell, it worries me in regards to, is this guy just a yes man, or is he going to be a creative influence to really help push this movie forward? So we'll see. PJ, she has Falcon, Chewie, 4 droids, 2 lightsabers, and the ancient Jedi text. Let's roll. Yeah, for real, man, for real. But yeah, guys, that is in fact all the Star Wars news that we have for you guys today. So go ahead and certainly let me know your guys' thoughts. Let's see here. What else we got? Next up, let's get into some DC news this week. I thought we had a really big DC announcement. Oh, I had all these images of Rey Skywalker ready to go, man. I didn't even get a chance to use any of these. I was so busy talking. Damn, Adam. Loving hearing your own voice, my guy. Jesus. Anyway, let's get into some DC news, as a Lanterns baby is in the news. These are some, I don't even know if these are like AI artwork that's been done, or if an actual person worked on these, but these are pretty badass photos. As we got Hal Jordan and John Stewart here set to go ahead and set in their live action Lantern series here this week. I thought this was actually worth talking about, as this series comes together. People have been, I don't want to say hesitant, but I think more curious than anything about the idea of what is this series potentially going to be. When you think of Lanterns, the first thing that comes to your mind is probably like a cosmic sort of space opera, like this big space adventure, if you will, intergalactic space adventure with a bunch of heavy CGI. But all the talks of like Chris Mundy, Damon Lindelof, Tom King, really doing a good job of keeping this series grounded. Even James Gunn is kind of surprised as to how they even managed to kind of make this work. People have been wondering, how grounded is this going to be? Is this truly going to be like a true detective vibe, all terrestrial, no in space sort of thing, or will they have some elements of this being some levels of cosmic entities or cosmic beings, or usage of the ring, if you will. So this week we wind up getting ourselves a casting that I thought might shine some light on things, and that is the casting of Sinestro, as a Deadline is in fact reporting that Ulrich Thomsen is set to play DC villain Sinestro in HBO's Lanterns. So let's go ahead and dive into this article here. You say Sinestro, and I'm there, folks. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Ulrich Thomsen to play DC supervillain Sinestro. It says he's been tapped to recur in the HBO, WB TV, and DC Studios Lanterns as DC supervillain Sinestro. So I'm assuming maybe if this series gets himself a second season, or maybe they have bigger plans for him come the movies, but maybe going forward, at least he will be playing the character Sinestro. The series follows new recruit John Stewart and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, or at least the recur in the sense of he's going to have a pretty significant role in this, not just popping up in like one episode. Two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate the murder of an American. As they investigate a murder in the American heartland. Sinestro is a former Green Lantern who turned rogue and is described as ruthless yet undeniably charming. Sinestro's manipulative nature drives his enduring obsession with his former mentee, Hal Jordan. Sinestro was created by John Broome back in 1961. The previously announced cast also includes, they added some other people, Kelly MacDonald as Sheriff Carey, Garrett Dillahunt as modern cowboy William McCoon, and Porna Jagannathan as Zoe, a potential love interest for John. Oh, okay. Lanterns is co-written. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Thomsen is well known for playing Kai Proctor in the series Banshee for Cinemax. The Danish actor recently starred in a critically acclaimed series, Trom. He reoccurred in The Blacklist. I think that's probably where I recognize him from. The Star's drama counterpart and HBO's The Young Pope. He'll next be seen in a thriller feature called Run. I feel like I've seen him in other things besides Blacklist, but I think that's where I really see him from. So yeah, we've got ourselves our Sinestro here. I personally am really excited for this casting. And I'm also really thankful that they brought up the idea that he is that Hal Jordan is his mentee, somebody that he mentored when Hal Jordan was certainly a rookie. And with this series really focused and centered on the idea of Hal Jordan, the veteran here, the legend, now training the rookie and John Stewart. I am hoping that there's a really fun dynamic here that we get to see between Sinestro and Hal Jordan. Whether that be busting Hal Jordan's chops a little bit as to what he was like as a mentee, and seeing how he might be trying to mentor somebody like a John Stewart. I've always been fascinated with the relationship between Sinestro and Hal Jordan. It's really personal between these two, and it's one that I hope really carries over into a live action form as well. So with the addition of Sinestro in here, I am hoping for some really highly charged like flashback sequences and even current situations and sequences. Like there's not a I don't know if there's many times that you can get Sinestro and Hal Jordan in a room and there not being intensity or some level of fighting kind of occurring. Whether or not Sinestro is going to be the main villain in here, if he's doing his own sort of research in regards to what's going on, who knows? I would assume with Hal Jordan being much further along in his tenure here, clearly this is probably not a Sinestro that is part of the Corps any longer. I'm sure he is a former Green Lantern at this particular point in time. So to see how he's even involved in this story in the first place, does Hal need to go to him for help? Is Sinestro involved somehow and they wind up discovering this? I will be really fascinated to kind of see how this goes. But I think the addition of Sinestro in here alone at least shows that while, yes, this will be a grounded series, there will be some elements of some intergalactic sort of fighting or at least storytelling kind of going on here as well. You know, one of the things that I've also heard, or at least remember James Gunn talking about too, is that the mystery that happens in this particular series itself will have sort of rippling effects in regards to the, I don't want to say other stories, but in the bigger picture effects for the DC universe as a whole. So whether or not these events sort of eventually set up what will maybe be a big crossover movie at some particular point in time, who knows, or start laying the breadcrumbs for what certainly might be coming down the road. I'm really excited to kind of see. So this will in fact be going into production in February. that will be the next project being in front of cameras here, so we can definitely expect that. And I think that I think the release schedule he said was Superman, Peacemaker season 2, and then Lanterns, if I'm not mistaken, and then Supergirl. But or maybe Supergirl becomes before Lanterns. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't want to lie to you guys. I might have to look that up here. But yeah, I think this will be great. And I think Ulrich Thomsen is really great for this role. I don't necessarily know if I had a personal fan cast in mind for this role, but I do think Ulrich Thomsen is going to be great in here. And if anything, this does make me want to see his more recent work, or at least go back and check out Banshees to see what he winds up bringing to the screen. So I'm looking forward to this one, honestly, guys. But I definitely want to know your thoughts. Marcelino says, I hope this leads to a Green Lantern movie with Sinestro War as the plot. Yeah, I would be kind of curious if, even though this is a Lantern series, if they have intentions of eventually making a Lanterns movie. Or if this is like, is this going to be a one-off series? Do they have plans on doing a second season at some point in time? I would be curious if Damon Lindelof, Chris Mundy, and Tom King are working on a script for a movie also. I really have no idea, but I'm really looking forward to this one, guys. I truly am. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. With that out of the way, I do want to go ahead and transition over to our next topic, and that's going to be the role of the MCU, as Benedict Cumberbatch is currently in the news this week. He had a pretty lengthy interview with Variety.com this week. And it's been a minute since we've seen this man in the MCU. The last time that we saw him, if I'm not mistaken, is Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness. But he's spilling the beans here in this interview. I think Benedict Cumberbatch at this particular point in time in his MCU tenure has kind of been allowed the green light to kind of maybe say whatever he wants to say whenever he wants to kind of say it. I'm sure there's some level of secrecy involved in here still, and things that he certainly shouldn't say. But as we inch closer to films like Avengers Doomsday, even Avengers Secret Wars, little tidbits of information like this I found rather fascinating. So I'm not going to read the entirety of the interview for you guys, but I will just focus on the portion of the Doctor Strange stuff for you guys. So let's go ahead and dive into this again. This is from Variety.com. It says, talking about his role as Doctor Strange, it's a role that gave the 48-year-old actor box office cred and made him globally popular, his likeness adorning t-shirts and toys, and it's a part he will continue to play as the Avengers keep battling existential threats. But Cumberbatch has just let something slip, and he seems momentarily horrified by his candor. He says, damn it. Hold on one moment. You see, he's just told me that Doctor Strange is taking a hiatus in the next Marvel project, Doomsday. Is that a spoiler, he asks? F it. Undeterred, he shares that things changed when Jonathan Majors, whose character Kang was intended to serve as the main antagonist of the next phase of the comic book film franchise, was fired in 2024 after being convicted of assaulting his ex-girlfriend, which, mind you, I do believe that charge has been dismissed. If I remember articles correctly, I do believe that his ex-girlfriend dropped that. Look that up for yourself, though. Cumberbatch's absence from Doomsday has to do with the character not aligning with this part of the story. And though he probably shouldn't be saying this, he's also reveals that Doctor Strange is in a lot of Avengers Secret Wars, which will hit theaters in 2027. He's quite central to where things might go, Cumberbatch teases, and he hints that the character's last seen casting spells in Multiverse of Madness will appear in a third standalone film, but is hesitant to say too much beyond praising Marvel for being collaborative. They are very open to discussing where we go next, Who do you want to write and direct the next one? What part of the comic lore do you want to explore so that Strange could keep evolving? He's a very rich character to play. He's a complex, contradictory, yeah, he is, troubled human who's got these extraordinary abilities. So there's potent stuff to mess about with. So yeah, I thought that was pretty eye opening. So look, let me tackle the the potential for a third film. Yeah, look, at this point, I think it's almost a given that Doctor Strange will, in fact, at some point in time, have a trilogy of movies. When that will certainly be, who definitely knows. If anything, I'm certainly not expecting anything before Avengers: Secret Wars. If anything, I fully expect him to have a much bigger role in something like or after Secret Wars. If we do go the Battle World route, maybe we'll have a Doctor Strange sort of movie set in Battle World as he's maybe trying to figure out how to get this world back together, if you will, right? Kind of reminiscent to his time in like Infinity War and then in Endgame, or at least the effect of it happening in Endgame. So if anything, I do expect the third Doctor Strange movie, but clearly sometime after Secret Wars. What other storylines they can kind of adapt? Doctor Strange was never a comic book that I really read very much as a kid or growing up. I wasn't really exposed to him outside of team ups with Spider-Man or seeing him in the Avengers comics from time to time, or the big crossover events and things like that. So I'm not really sure what direction I would want to see them kind of take, but I do love the fact that he's been this character for such a long time that they're open to kind of taking his advice and seeing where he wants to steer things. I really would like to see Sam Raimi return as director. I don't necessarily know if I need him as a writer, but I thought Sam Raimi's vibe and tone that he brought to Doctor Strange really worked for me. Maybe it was because of the script, and he had such a great villain in Scarlet Witch that he can really direct the hell out of. That helped really elevate that movie even more for me personally. But I thought from just a tonal space, I thought Sam Raimi was really, really good in that directing role. So I wouldn't mind a return of Sam Raimi. But if there's another story idea, I would love to see it. I'm still waiting for a Nightmare. I think Nightmare has always been such a formidable and really great Doctor Strange villain, and I'm surprised that they haven't utilized him yet. I thought that was maybe the route that they were going to go when they had Scott Derrickson initially set to write the script for Doctor Strange 2 before they went the multiverse route and rewrote the script. So maybe there's a place, and if you start talking about the concept of Nightmare and dealing with that type of realm again, Sam Raimi lines up really beautifully for me. So give me Sam Raimi again, and maybe finally bring somebody like Nightmare to life for the trilogy to go ahead and wrap that up. Those would be two places I would go. As far as who you would get as a writer, there's a part of me that says maybe get you another horror film writer. I was gonna say maybe the guy from Barbarian, only because he's gonna be in the news here recently, and he's got a great horror vibe to him. But maybe there's another really great up and coming horror film writer that you can go ahead and bring in for Doctor Strange and tap into a little bit of that if they go the route of Nightmare. But who certainly knows? But as far as the other piece of information here, clearly they had big plans for Doctor Strange in Kang Dynasty. But unfortunately, with Jonathan Majors no longer being Kang the Conqueror, that clearly put the Marvel Studios in a mode of trying to course correct. And in doing so, they wind up coming up with Avengers Doomsday. It is fascinating to me that if he's taking a hiatus, and clearly the way that this article states is that he's not going to be in that film. It says Cumberbatch absence from Doomsday has to do with the character not aligning with this part of the story. So I am curious as to what part of the story is that. Is this a film that's going to be set in the multiverse. Is this going to be a story that's really mostly focused in the multiverse and not our standard MCU? Like, I'm sure there's going to be moments within this film that are set alone in the MCU, or maybe it is in the MCU when it starts. Because look, I'm kind of on the impression when we get into the Fantastic Four, with that being a multiverse movie, there's a part of me that believes after that, by the end of the Fantastic Four movie, they will be sort of in modern day MCU. Or maybe I shouldn't think that way. Maybe they don't come into our MCU just yet until we get into something like Doomsday or Secret Wars. So when you talk about Avengers Doomsday and the big names that are certainly coming back, like Chris Evans along with Robert Downey Jr., it is a little bit surprising that Doctor Strange's story wouldn't align in any way, shape, or form with them. And the idea of their story just kind of happening while Doctor Strange is doing whatever it is that he's doing. The last time that we did see him was in the post-credit scene of something like the Multiverse of Madness, where Charlize Theron picks him up and starts talking to him about the incursions. So could we get to the point where that's really what he's been doing this entire time? Like, other things are happening in the MCU, and shit's hitting the fan elsewhere, but his main focus clearly has to be on the incursions. Like, there's a part of me that thinks once we get into something like Avengers Secret Wars, like, Doctor Strange is battered, bruised, and he's like been battle torn, as he's been doing everything to kind of keep these multiverses and these incursions from destroying each other, and the Earths kind of colliding into each other, or whatever the case may be. So maybe he does have his hands full. And he doesn't pop back up into Secret Wars, and Doomsday really just has sort of a complete story kind of its own that will eventually tie into Secret Wars. But Doctor Strange doesn't necessarily come in yet until that quote unquote sequel, if you will. So a lot of moving pieces here from Doomsday, but I do think it opens our eyes a little bit more in regards to really how vastly the story has changed from something like King the Conqueror or King Dynasty to Doomsday after the Jonathan Majors incident that wind up happening. And look, the Russo brothers feel very confident about the story that they have. Reconnecting with was it Stephen McFly? I'm probably butchering the writer's name, but connecting with one of their past writers that they've worked with to go ahead and really kind of crack open this story. So Doomsday really has all my attention, but I am a little bit bummed that we have to wait until Secret Wars for Doctor Strange to have any say when it comes to the storyline or any impact, if you will. So, but look, I think the Russo brothers have a really good track record of knowing how to pace their movies, especially knowing that they have two big movies to kind of play around with, and using the first one to set up pieces for the second one in here. And if there's anybody that knows how to handle an ensemble cast, and manage people's screen time and their purpose and how they affect the story, the Russo brothers certainly know how to do that. So while I'm bummed that Doctor Strange won't play a part in Doomsday, it makes me even more curious as to what this new fresh story is that now asks for Doctor Strange to come in at Secret Wars. But we'll see how it turns out. But it's been a minute, man. It's been a minute since we've had some Doctor Strange. So I am eager to kind of see him pop up again, honestly. Doomsday says 48. That dude looks about 11 years younger than me. Yeah, he must be doing something right. Marcia says one thing people didn't like about Doctor Strange 2 was that he was sidelined in his own movie by Wanda. So they're considering Doctor Strange 3 as a true Doctor. I mean, they can consider it that way all they want to, but it's not. I mean, they can have their own headcanon all they want to, but I don't think he was sidelined by Wanda whatsoever. I mean, Wanda to me did steal the movie. I'm not going to lie. I thought Wanda did steal the movie, but that's Elizabeth Olsen, man. She's just that powerful of an actress. She really did a hell of a job in that regards. But there's plenty of Doctor Strange in that movie. If anything, I would say, I wouldn't say Wanda sidelined him. If people were to complain about that movie, I would say the addition of America Chavez and just all the multiversal pieces, along with the Illuminati kind of coming in and being involved, made it a little bit of a mess at times. That I think, if anything, took a little bit more away from Doctor Strange than Wanda certainly did. But I still enjoy the movie. I went ahead and watched it a couple months ago, and I enjoy the movie for sure. But I definitely see its issues. Blossom, another movie for Doctor Strange. Geez, oh Lita, yeah, I would love another one. I heard rumors that Doctor Strange 3 would adapt the comic Time Runs Out, where it's a prequel to Secret Wars and deals with incursion. Oh, maybe. Blossom says, Nightmare? Never heard of that villain before. Who in Static's name is he? I'll have to do a Google search or like a MCU encyclopedia search. I don't necessarily know his origin story before. But yeah, guys, let me know. What direction would you like to see a Doctor Strange 3 go in? Is that something that you would like to see before Secret Wars? Which I really don't think we're going to get it before Secret Wars. I would assume that maybe it's like a Battle World thing. If anything, I am just curious as to what we're going to be getting after Secret Wars. We have a couple of like MCU films that are untitled. But there's a part of me that feels that after wrapping up Secret Wars, then we're going to get ourselves some really heavy mutant Fantastic Four kind of storytelling. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get another Avenger character movie for like another 2 or 3 years after Secret Wars. So I don't think they're going to wait that long, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they got like 3 X-Men / Fantastic Four movies in mind. Maybe that'll all drop in like 1 year, and then within like a year and a half or 2 years, maybe something happens and we're back to Doctor Strange and a Shang-Chi sequel, which Shang-Chi should have come out a long time ago, man. But yeah, I definitely would love to know how you guys will certainly like to see Doctor Strange come through next. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. Actually, let me get a sip of this tea, man. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. We went to Georgia, and I didn't have any problem with my allergies. I felt the best I felt in like a long time. But we came back home, and immediately, like, this dog hair, this cat dander, all the stuff is the dust. It's all like getting to me, man. My chest feels a little bit tighter. Like 2 days, 3 days in back home, my throat is scratchy and sore. Got that nasal drip kind of going, that constant scratching the throat, clearing my throat, spitting things out. It's just like, ugh. I feel miserable. But yeah, man, we got a lot of animals in this house. And that really bothering me. But my girlfriend loves them, man, so I can't really say anything. Mom says, hope you get better. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I hope that this, if anything, I'm trying to do my best to kind of keep it at just allergies, to the point to where it doesn't like turn into something else, like a sinus infection, or it turns into a cold. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to stay ahead of it. So I'm probably going to pop as much vitamin C tonight as I can and some allergy medicine for sure. All right, guys, with that out of the way, let's move into our next topic, which, I've really enjoyed this director's work over the past couple years. I just saw his most recent film by the name of Nosferatu on Christmas, the Nosferatu / Dracula sort of vampire film. And I loved it. I really loved it. It probably is like in my top 5 movies that I've seen this year, honestly. I just really love Robert Eggers' style. Whether that be, I still want to see The Norseman, but I loved him in, I loved his, The Witch movie was fantastic to me with I think that was Anya Taylor-Joy, if I'm not mistaken. but I love his style of filmmaking. And he's been so successful, especially recently with his Nosferatu film, that Robert Eggers is about to be a lot more busy, as he has two projects that have recently kind of fallen on his lap. And we're going to talk about them a little bit here. Both of these articles come to us from the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline, that give us a glimpse into his next two upcoming projects. He's going to stay in his bag, though. You know, like when you're a director and you know the type of movies that you certainly want to make, the tone and atmosphere that you bring to your films, I think this one is almost a winner. Hollywood Reporter saying Robert Eggers reteams with Focus, features for a 13th century werewolf thriller titled Werewolf. This is an exclusive report. After tackling vampires, filmmaker Robert Eggers is taking on another horror creature genre in his own inimitable style, if I'm pronouncing that right. Eggers has co-written Werewolf, a werewolf horror picture that he will direct as his next feature. Focus Universal's art house division, which released and financed Nosferatu, is back in business with the filmmaker for Werewolf. The company has dated the thriller for a North American release on Christmas Day 2026. The parties are hoping for more holiday greetings, as Nosferatu also released on Christmas Day and went on to become improbable hit. I think this is a great timing on their part, to be quite frank with you. I've always really been a fan of like horror films or darker films during the Christmas season. It's always really a great balance, because most holiday films now are, you know, very family friendly type of thing. And you've got your movies like Dune and Star Wars that are really big tentpole franchise films that come out during Christmas time. So to be able to counterbalance that at the movie theater with something like a horror film, I always thought was a really fantastic move. And when I saw it, look, I told the story before, but I don't really go to um movies on Christmas Day. It's not something that I really do, but I went this year because it's like a for my girlfriend and her family, at least, it's something that they used to do every year. So we went this year, and boy, it was packed. Nosferatu was packed. It was almost hard to find seats on Christmas Day for this movie. So I think this is a really great release tactic on their end, to utilize Christmas Day as a great release schedule for another horror werewolf film by Eggers. Eggers wrote Werewolf with Shawn, who co-wrote the Viking saga, The Northman, with the filmmaker. So he's teaming up with somebody he knows here. While details are scarce, sources say the story is set in the 13th century England. I do love me a good period piece. The script also features dialogue that was true to the time period and has translations and annotations for those uninitiated in Old English. Initially, Eggers was planning on shooting the feature in black and white, but that's no longer the case. Suffice to say that concerning the setting and the dialect, Eggers is promising another deep dive into a muddy, costumed, and violent time period consistent with his oeuvre, if I'm pronouncing that right, which has earned him a loyal film following. Man, Robert Eggers, stop flirting with me here, man. This sounds great. I honestly cannot wait for this film. The movie, heavy on mood, style, costumes, and manner dialogue. I'm talking about Nosferatu, opened on Christmas. The movie has sucked up more than $156 million worldwide and has become his highest grossing movie to date. I am curious as to what the budget on Nosferatu certainly was, but that was also a period piece set in the 1830s. So when Robert Eggers gets into his period piece bag, you have my attention, man. You absolutely have my attention. And I do love, like, I mean, you hear this talking about they have to tap into like old English and get annotations for this movie and like tapping into like a dead language or a language that people barely even speak anymore, sort of thing. I mean, when Robert Eggers really wants to focus and do something new and different. I mean, he's so detailed oriented, and he really is really studies the craft about what he's going to be making a film about. And I really love that level of commitment. Like, he's not slouching whatsoever from really doing the hard work to bring something and make it as authentic and feel like a world that's truly lived in like never before. And I really enjoy that passion that Robert Eggers is certainly bringing to the big screen. So again, he's won me over with a lot of his past work. I still want to see The Northman. But after The Witch and after Nosferatu, yeah, man, you want to do a werewolf film set in the 13th century? Bring it on, man. Bring it on. I have a feeling he's going to do one of the coolest sort of werewolf transformations. And look, to be fair, I really also want to see Wolfman in theaters. I don't know how well that movie's doing from a critical or audience standpoint, like as far as being a good or bad movie. But I do want to see Wolfman still in theaters. But this movie's going to put Wolfman to shame. I'm sure it is. I have absolutely no doubts about it whatsoever. But I'm really eager to see Robert Eggers get in his bag for this one. But again, Robert Eggers is a busy man. Like, that's literally not the only project that he's going to be working on. Sorry, my uncle's calling me. He also is going to be tapped to do another film, this time going back to a cult classic, to certainly say the least, in the sense of working with doing a Labyrinth sequel. I was not expecting this from him, but it looks like he has been brought up to deck to go ahead and do the Labyrinth sequel. Now, Labyrinth, I think, has been in the works for quite some time, kind of on and off, kind of stuck in production hell. The idea of maybe doing like a reboot of Labyrinth or a sequel, but this time around, according to Deadline, he is set for a Labyrinth sequel. He's going to be teaming with TriStar here. If I can be honest with you guys, even though I grew up in the 80s, I don't believe I've ever seen Labyrinth. As much of a cult classic as it is, and you would think that this Labyrinth would kind of be like right up on my radar as a kid growing up in the 80s. This one never hit my radar. I never got into it. So I might have to go ahead and check this out if he's going to be tackling a sequel. But it's been a big week for Robert Eggers, Deadline says, a day after they just announced him doing Werewolf, which will be his next film. We've learned that the filmmaker has closed his deal to write and direct a new Labyrinth film for TriStar. So I'm very much under the impression that as of right now, like, this movie probably won't get released, I would say, until like 2028. So I would assume maybe three more years away, 3.5 years at this point. It says the news comes following the unveiling of the Oscar nominations, which included 4 of Eggers' hit vampire flick in cinematography, costume design, production design, and makeup and hairstyling categories. Plot details for The Labyrinth are under wraps, but we're told the film is a sequel to, rather than a remake of, the Jim Henson's 1986 classic. Eggers is writing the script also with the same Viking collaborator from The Northman, who he's also writing Werewolf with. It says a beloved musical fantasy starring young Jennifer Connelly and the late David Bowie. Labyrinth follows a former 16-year-old Sarah as she navigates a vast and otherworldly maze to rescue her infant brother Toby, whom she inadvertently wished away to the realm of Goblin King Jared. What a shitty sister. Throughout her journey, Sarah's encounter of a variety of magical creatures and challenges that test her resolve and maturity. Interesting. That sounds like, literally, that sounds like a movie that would be right up my alley. Like something that, like, I feel like as a kid in the 80s, I probably should have been renting this VHS over and over again. But no, this I don't want to say it. I'm not going to sit here and say it was like I never heard of it. I always did. I just never picked it up to watch it. And I do love Jim Henson's work, especially from his Creature Shop stuff. I was always a big fan of like the practical effects and all the creatures that he wind up creating. So yeah, this feels like something I should be checking out. Efforts to get Labyrinth follow up off the ground have been ongoing since at least 2017, when Scott Derrickson was most recently attached to direct a prior incarnation of the script. Still playing in theaters, Eggers' take on gothic vampire tale Nosferatu, um, having passed $156 million worldwide since Christmas Day. Um, that's interesting. I do think that he would work really well for a film like Labyrinth, especially if they're going to be tapping into maybe even utilizing practical effects again and creatures and whatever the case may be. I think that would really work. Look, I gotta say, Nosferatu for me really put Eggers even more on my radar than before, and I say that in the sense of he's really able to sort of just capture your imagination and place you in these worlds, whether it be his lighting, the atmosphere that he provides. There's a really great shot in Nosferatu that's literally like vacant of like any sound, and it's the most captivating moment. Nicholas Holt coming to Transylvania and coming up to the castle as he's like literally on a road by himself, just covered in the moonlight. I mean, it is just a desolate and empty environment as he's just lonely in the middle of the woods. But you see this carriage of horses approaching him, just no music, and it's the most enthralling sequence that I've seen. I mean, I am truly captivated by Robert Eggers' work, and how quickly he just kind of pulls you into his movies, and the authenticity I think just really goes a long way. So there is something about his level of filmmaking that I think when you put together with the correct themes, with the correct projects, could really, really do well. And so, whether that be Werewolf, whether that be a Labyrinth sequel, I think Eggers really belongs in that world. And I'm glad that I don't want to say knows his lane, but I'm glad that he knows the type of movies that he wants to make. Oh, he also did The Lighthouse too. It just came. He also did The Lighthouse with William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, which was another crazy one also. So he knows the types of movie that he wants to certainly make, and when you have somebody with that type of creative vision, man, just let them be them. And he's always going to knock it out of the park. So yeah, man, Robert Eggers deserving of all the work certainly headed his way, man. But I'm looking forward to it. Blossom says Nosferatu. I haven't seen him since SpongeBob. Yeah, I mean it's so funny. It's so funny. Ever since Nosferatu came out, first off, I didn't even know of that SpongeBob reference. But ever since that Nosferatu movie came out, anytime that I've seen like some sort of behind the scenes clip or like YouTube video talking about Nosferatu, that damn SpongeBob clip always pops up. Nosferatu. It always pops up. My girlfriend gets a laugh out of it all the time because she remembers it from SpongeBob, but I had never seen it until after the Nosferatu movie actually dropped. So I get that reference. Ram Jam says, I still haven't seen that movie yet. Get to see it, Ram Jam. If you get a chance, man, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Great performances. Nicholas Holt, Rosie Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter. Is it Rosie? Rose? And even Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is growing on me as an actor. He was really good in that part too. Marceline says, from what I've seen, Wolfman is mixed with people saying it's disappointing at worst and dumb fun at best. I'll take the dumb fun. I'll take that as a popcorn flick just to kind of see what this movie's about. So maybe I'll check that out. Maybe I'll check out Wolfman and The Complete Unknown this week in theaters. Who knows? I'll ask my girlfriend for permission. Babe, can I go to the movies by myself? We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts on Robert Eggers and maybe some of his past work. What have you seen from Robert Eggers? What are you big fans of his from? I definitely would love to know your guys' thoughts. And with that out of the way, man, let's move on to this next topic because this topic is pretty crazy. We got two more topics to break down for you guys here. And look, again, I really appreciate everybody certainly sticking through with me. If anybody's watching that AFC Championship game, can somebody let me know what the score is? Who's winning? Who's losing? Is the game over with? I definitely want to go ahead and know. Somebody please let me know. Um, and if you are watching this, whether that be on YouTube, whether that be on Twitter, do me a big favor, man. Hit that like button. Please smash that like button. It definitely does go a long way. Certainly helps out the algorithm for sure. So definitely would appreciate that. Guys, let's get into our last two topics. This one is kind of crazy to me. The Michael Jackson biopic film is back in the news, y'all. We've been trying to keep our eye on this film because growing up in the during the 90s and in the 80s, Michael Jackson was a big part of my life from a musical standpoint. Certainly the king of pop in my eyes. I don't think anybody's truly ever touched this man, honestly. I still love Michael Jackson music to this day. And I've been really eager to kind of see this biopic kind of come to life. And with them acquiring, was it Jafar Jackson? I think like the nephew of Michael Jackson to play this role. This is not Michael Jackson that you see right here. This is actually his nephew, Jafar Jackson, as Michael Jackson, performing for during filming. But I've been really eager to kind of see this movie come together. One of the concerns with like any biopic of any big popular actor or musician or whatever the case may be, I personally always want fairness. You know, most people don't want movies about themselves, though, that shine sort of any negative light on them whatsoever and just kind of puts them in the good light. But there's got to be a balance, right? Especially if you know the traumas of people's past, if you know some of the allegations that some of these people have certainly been through over the years, whether they're true or not, right? There has to be some level of honesty in these biopics, I personally think, in order to make them kind of successful. And so when it comes to something like Michael Jackson, you know, I've always found that as a tricky thing to navigate. But they've made a movie. But it seems as though they are still going to be making this movie. Even though filming has wrapped, we've got news that massive reshoots are now set for this movie, as they may be in some legal jeopardy here. So let's go ahead and bring this up because I found this rather interesting. Michael Jackson movie undergoing major reshoots over a legal issue. This comes to us from comingsoon.net, who's reporting this from, I think, Puck News, P-U-C-K News. A new development in the long-awaited Michael Jackson movie suggests that the film will have to undergo some massive reshoots. Come on. According to a new report from Matthew Bologna's Puck newsletter, years before the Michael Jackson movie was in production, the Jackson estate agreed to never include the Chandler family in any movie or project about the star. Bologna notes that a signed agreement between the families prohibits the Chandlers, who are at the center of the infamous trial against Jackson for child molestation, from being used in any dramatization. The issue with the Michael Jackson movie, the newsletter notes, is that a large portion of the third act of the planned biopic of the music legend involves the infamous lawsuit against Jackson by Jordan Chandler, a then 13-year-old who alleged that Michael Jackson molested him. Sorry, why does this keep doing this to me? The report paints that the report mentions that the film paints Jackson as innocent throughout this process, and a scene in the movie includes Jackson meeting his lawyers and hearing audio of Chandler's father and threatening to destroy Jackson's career. The studio may be forced to completely reshoot scenes for that movie due to key parts being unusable. The report goes on to mention that this came to light after the HBO documentary Leaving Neverland, specifically after a September story in the Financial Times revealed that John Branca, one of Jackson's executors, paid out 16.5 million to the accusers in the Leaving Neverland documentary, with one deciding to seek an additional 213 million, leading to the litigation from Jackson's estate. The move as a whole shocked those behind the film, as they were unaware of any such payments having been made. Bronco reportedly let the team know the legal issues surrounding the scenes in the movie only after filming had already wrapped on the project. The report notes that the creative team behind the movie is left trying to figure out how to best go by fixing the issue. A rewrite of the script as well as reshoots will have to be approved by Lionsgate, with Jackson and the state reportedly funding any reshoots and additional photography needed. Damn. That's crazy. This is abysmal, dog. This is why it's so hard to make a freaking Michael Jackson movie, man. There's just so much on this guy in regards to legal issues, payments, keeping people quiet, settling things out of court. But I think what, to me, look, I'm going to be honest. To me, what's really disturbing here, look, I don't know if this guy's innocent or guilty. I haven't really kept up with any of his trials or what's been going on for years since I was like in the 90s, honestly, or early 2000s. But what I will say is, like, how do you go about making a film about this man and people of the Jackson estate knowing that they can't talk about this, and an executor of the family knowing that this money was paid, knowing that they couldn't include these people? Why would you allow these people to make a film when it's that involved in the movie itself? I mean, why would you let Lionsgate roll film on all of that, allow these people to film their third story? I mean, it's not like the Jackson family didn't see the script. There's no way that the Jackson estate would let Lionsgate, or anybody for that notion, see the script itself. And you trying to tell me they couldn't have talked to their lawyers, they couldn't have talked to their people to go over the script to say, we don't want this in this movie? Or not that we don't want it in the movie, but that we can't have it in the movie for legal reasons? And the fact that they had to find out after the matter, and that nobody in the filming process of this knew that none of this stuff could be explored. Like, what? That's crazy to me. So you knew all this stuff happened, but you saw the script and you didn't mind the idea that they painted Michael Jackson to be innocent or not. You know, you got to come at it from an objective point of view and sort of allow the audience to kind of make that decision for themselves, right? But you didn't have a problem with them coming up with the script, filming all this, Michael Jackson in a really good light, pretending this man is innocent, and then letting them wrap filming and do it. Like, you didn't know any of this stuff was going to come out and like affect the filming and ruin the film. That's just crazy to me. That's just really disgraceful. That's just really messed up to me, as I can't imagine nobody in the Jackson estate or even their executives or lawyers didn't know what was in this film to begin with. And the fact that they approved the script and went along with film, like, that's just, if I was Lionsgate, I'd be pissed. Like, I don't know if they can penalize the Jackson family and be like, you guys have to pay for all these damn reshoots now. I would hope that they would force the Jackson family to pick this all up, honestly, to pay for all this, because that's a disaster, man. That's a disaster. So the question I have now is, so the question for me now at this point is the idea of what happens with this movie. Do you just rewrite the script? Like, do you just rewrite the third sequence, the final act of this movie? Do you rewrite the entire movie as a whole? That feels very much like back to the drawing board, if you will. So I have no idea what's going to happen with this movie now. I was excited to kind of see this, but now I'm just like, man, if it happens, it happens. But that's just, I just find that appalling. I find that appalling personally. Crazy stuff, man. Marcelina says that sounds effed up for them to not do their research properly and only do surface level research and not get into the meat of it all. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, look, I do put most of this on the Jackson family and their lawyers for not bringing this up. But you're right. I mean, I do think that I do think that there's work that the writers behind the scenes have to kind of do also. But you know, I would also, to be fair to the writers, I would also say, you know, there are probably things just from a legal perspective that may be behind a lot of like paperwork or, you know, legal things that they can't maybe find on their own. You know what I mean? That might be hidden behind things that you would really need the lawyers to be honest and open with you about. So they probably did their due diligence to a certain extent, but the idea of the Jackson family maybe holding back some details and the idea of them having payments and stuff, um um really shameful that they didn't come forward with that, to be honest with the filmmakers of this movie, to make sure that they got this right to beginning, because now this is just going to cost time and money for Lionsgate that they may or may not have. You know, like if I'm Lionsgate, I don't even know if I want to do this movie anymore, but maybe you've invested so much, um maybe you've invested so much time and energy. It's like you need to. That was referring to both the Jackson estate and the writers are equally to blame, but Jackson estate's no more so. They held up to higher standards. So yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, man. Totally agree with you. So just a tragedy that this had to happen. So we'll see if the Michael Jackson biopic ever comes out. But we'll keep you guys posted if we get any new details in regards to it. Right. All right. And last but not least, guys, we got one more topic that we're going to break it down for you guys here today. As we're going to get into our video game bag, believe it or not, still on the movie side of things, but tapping into a good old video game adaptation here this time around, as we're going to talk a little bit about Resident Evil, baby. That's right. Resident Evil is in the news. As I think the last Resident Evil project outside of video games, just from like a movie television standpoint, wasn't there a Netflix Resident Evil series that came out a couple of years ago that I think was like atrocious? I didn't have the opportunity to watch it, but I heard a lot of people were just like, this is not even Resident Evil. This is like a television series with Resident Evil's name thrown onto it. Um, so they tried and they failed. But it's been a minute since we've had ourselves a Resident Evil movie. But it looks like they're getting ready to take a stab out of it once again. And to look, to be fair, when it comes to Resident Evil, I've played my fair share of Resident Evil video games. Well, my fair share in the sense of like nowhere near as played as many Resident Evil video games as there are video games of Resident Evil. My experience is literally like the first two Resident Evil video games, honestly. And I'm terrible with horror video games. It just doesn't work for me. I can't do it. I can't do it. I literally have to play horror. I'm surprised I actually completed Silent Hill back in the day, but Resident Evil video games, for some reason, I gotta play not just with the lights on, but like it's got to be daytime outside. Like I gotta have the blinds open. I gotta have the sun shining in. Like I gotta feel safe when I play Resident Evil video games. At least that's what it was like for me with the first two ones. After the first two, I just never played them anymore after that. But I have always been fascinated with the idea of Resident Evil movies. I can't remember the lady's name that played that played in the first couple ones. Went on to make a trilogy, if not like 4 or 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken. To great success. People love their Resident Evil movies, but now it's time for a new generation of Resident Evil movies. And it seems as though they might have found their filmmaker ready for the task. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Why does it always pop up in there? Letting us know here that Barbarian filmmaker Zach Krieger is set to tackle Resident Evil reboot, igniting a bidding war. This is actually coming to us as an exclusive report from the Hollywood Reporter. Studios are fighting for a package that will see the Barbarian filmmaker write and direct a new movie based on the horror video game. I was a big fan of Barbarian. I think, to be honest with you, I think the whole horror genre over the past maybe 5-10 years has really been doing some really big and great things, I think, in regards to making really great movies. And Barbarian is certainly one of them. They've really been tackling the horror realm from just different angles that we haven't really seen before, just really fresh and unique takes and ideas that have really worked in bringing sort of the horror element back to the limelight. Like, I think even The Substance is considered a horror film, and it's being nominated as like a best picture at the Oscars this year, like a body dysmorphia sort of thing. But Barbarian certainly captured a lot of people's attention, and it seems as though it's captured the attention of a lot of studios here, as Resident Evil reboot is certainly on the way. It says the fight for Zach Krieger's new movie is on in what seems to have become the first major auction of the year. An intense bidding war is underway for a reboot of Resident Evil, a horror action movie franchise based on a popular video games. Krieger is attached to write and direct. 4 studios are elbowing for the win, among them Warner Brothers and Netflix, according to sources. Constantine Film, which has held the screen rights to the title since the late 1990s, has been behind the previous movies, will produce the reboot. Shay Hatton, who worked on John Wick 4 and Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, is co-writing it. The movies, 6 starring Mila Jovovich, that's who it was, plus one origin feature made during the pandemic, had been moneymakers. But Krieger is the reason the studios are willing to shell out major money. Krieger was an actor and comedian who reinvented himself as the cutting-edge filmmaker with Barbarian, a 2022 cult hit that he wrote and directed. It also established him as a new voice in horror. And when he went out with his follow-up horror project, the bidding war erupted. That upcoming film titled Weapons was won by Warner Brothers, Warner's New Line division, and saw him become a Final Cut director. Wow. You don't see very many of those these days, Final Cut directors. The horror movie has Josh Brolin and Julia Garner in its ensemble cast, so look out for Weapons. The word on Weapons is that it's very strong and has been testing quite high according to sources, and Warner's, which has not yet dated the movie, is likely doing everything it can to keep Krieger in its talent fold. The filmmaker is also gearing up to release his first major film as a producer, and the combination of Krieger paired with the established intellectual property is also something to be too tempting to pass up, no matter the cost. The movies have grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide. Krieger's take is described by sources as a revamp that will take the title to its horror roots and be more faithful to the initial games, which date back to 1996. So this is very much a case of you've got yourself a very young and inspiring new film director and writer in the horror genre that has won the hearts of many, not only with Barbarian, but also his upcoming Weapons, film titled Weapons, that have really been gaining a lot of momentum here. And so after Barbarian, it does seem as though there's a lot of people battling it out for this particular movie. They do mention Warner Brothers is in the fold right now. They also mention Netflix is in the fold, and that it does make me curious as to who else could potentially be in here. Is Amazon in here? Is Paramount in here? Universal? I would be kind of curious to see who else is fighting for this. But this seems fascinating to me. It seems like he might knock it out of the park once again with his upcoming movie Weapons. That's certainly one to look out for. But I'm always fascinated when there's a bidding war. The last time I heard that there was a bidding war for anything, it was the Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan movie Sinners. That's set to go ahead and drop, I think, in March, if I'm not mistaken. People were really vying for that film to be under their belt. But Warner Brothers seems like they have a lot, I don't want to say a lot to lose, but clearly they want to go ahead and keep them in their good graces. And as the article states, at this point, it's like money's not even a thing. Like they'll do whatever it is, no matter what the cost is. So we'll see who winds up winning out. But I'm excited for new Resident Evil. Look, to be fair, when the Resident Evil movies came out back in the 90s, they felt very much like classic video game movies. And then they just started to kind of jump the shark more and more and more and more, if you will, after with each sequel. But people love them. People absolutely love them. Gory, CGI maybe didn't necessarily date that well. Going back and rewatching them now, but people love the Resident Evil films for sure. So it will be interesting to kind of see them have a new take. I do love the idea that they are going back to the more horror element of it, staying very much more true to them to the video games themselves. And it does feel like, I mean, even though when you look at something like the first two movies, they did have characters that resemble that of the video games also. I think we even had like Raccoon City in part two and whatnot, but I am expecting something a lot darker and a little bit more twisted, and really tapping into the horror genre and vibes that Resident Evil was able to do. So I think this is a really great addition here. Like if you were going to go ahead and take the time to realize that, look, people still love Resident Evil. I don't know how many remakes or HD remakes of the video games that they've made, or if they're even still, what are they up to? Resident Evil 5, 7? I have no idea what they're up to when it comes to Resident Evil video games, but people love, I think, it's a franchise that still continues to make money, and when you have that type of intellectual property under your belt, that IP under your belt, take full advantage of it. And if you can have a blossoming creator like Zach over here to go ahead and tackle something like that, let's go, man. I'm ready for a Resident Evil film once again. So I think this is a great story here, and I'm eager to kind of see what they do with it. Blossom with the super chat. Thank you so much, Blossom. I really appreciate you coming through and supporting the channel that way. It really means a lot. Horror games freak me out too. I mean, geez, oh Roxy. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've played a horror game. So maybe I can now in my old age. Like maybe now that I'm 42, maybe my nerves just aren't as creeped out as they used to be. But I'm sure they still are. Me and the girlfriend, we'll go on YouTube and we'll just watch scary videos before we go to bed, and those still make me jump from time to time. So yeah, I'm sure horror video games would still freak me the hell out. Mila Jovovich was a star of 6 Resident Evil movies. Nearly all of them are garbage because they're Resident Evil in name only, but if you see them as their own movie, they're dumb fun action movies. Yeah, there's a part of me that says, like, I think the first 2 movies tried to stay, I don't even know if I would say accurate to the video games, but tried to certainly have references and people and places and things in it. But I think after maybe the second one, they really started kind of doing their own thing. Ram Jam says, I remember playing horror video games called The Suffering on the PS2. That game freaked me out. Yeah, man. Like I said, I think Silent Hill was like the last horror video game that I played. Marceline says, you watch scary videos with your girlfriend? Do you watch chilling scares on YouTube? Because that's a great channel to get scared by. I'll check it out. It's usually like we do a lot of like when I say scary videos, I mean um like video like well, so like Nuke's top 5 type of thing. They'll have like top 10, top 5 scariest videos on the internet sort of thing. And it's usually, just supernatural stuff, not like fake handheld cameras, or I mean, it's, you know, well, I don't want to say fake. I mean, if you believe in the supernatural or not, that's certainly up to you. But you know, that he Nuke pulls like scary videos from people's YouTube channels that are found, or TikTok accounts that are found, and then he plays them type of thing. So we do a lot of Nuke's top five, but there are also a couple of other, like, outside of Nuke, there's maybe like one or two other channels that we will go through. I mean, maybe Chilling Scares is one of them that we've tapped into, but um I haven't really paid attention to the YouTube channels, honestly. But I'll look up that one, Marcelino. We do love a good scare. As long as it's a real video, you know what I'm saying, and not like some people trying to make a prank or create their own movie type of thing. Marcelino, Chilling Scares operates the same way, but more direct. Okay, cool. Cool. Ram Jim says, I play a couple of Resident Evil games. What was the last one you played? I would love to know, man. But yeah, it looks like Resident Evil Reboot is in the works. Who will be the lucky studio to produce it? That will be another question, but we'll definitely keep you guys posted for sure. And with that out of the way, guys, I think you know what time it is.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer question portion of the show. Let me go and throw on some music here. Might be a little bit distorted at first, but you'll eventually hear me. On, just so that there's no like musical feedback, but hopefully you guys should be able to hear me. If you can't hear me yet, go ahead and let me know. But look, guys, if you ever want to submit a live viewer question over, how do you do so? It's fairly easy. I'll go ahead and show you right now. Just go over to our YouTube channel, like you see right here. Scroll down to our community tab, click that community tab, and usually every Saturday afternoon or evening, we'll drop a live viewer question post for you guys, and there it is. My throat is a little scratchy, so hopefully, hopefully I'll be able to get to some of these. Might have to refresh a couple times here too, because I'm seeing already some of them aren't popping up with the more, but that's okay. I'll come back to them if they're not. All right, Peg C. Have you had a chance to see the teaser trailer for Playmates unveiling of the name of their Power Rangers toy line, Power Rangers Reignition? I have not. Power Rangers Reignition. Let's see if a trailer pops up. Is there a video? Oh, just, well, I only see just the tease. So no, I have not seen the trailer itself. Oh, the teaser trailer. I mean, it's the, if you're talking about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers logo with the Thunderbolt and then it just says Reignition, yeah, I've seen that. But I don't know. I really have no idea what it means. Playmates, huh? New, I guess that's the new toy line that they were referring to. When they say Playmates, I always get concerned. Like, how young are we talking about? Would you like to see the Three Ninjas be brought back as a reboot movie or TV series? Yeah, why not? Was it Rocky, Tum Tum, and Colt, if I'm not mistaken? I actually follow one of the Three Ninja kids on TikTok. He does tutorial nows on how to kick Nazis' asses. I think it's pretty funny. But no, I'm down for another Three Ninjas reboot. Why not? Do you think Power Rangers Prime could make a good animated television series title? A title? Yeah, certainly. I haven't had the opportunity to read the series yet. If you have read the series, let me know what you think of it. I haven't had the opportunity to read the series yet, though. And you also say, what are your thoughts on the official trailer for number 1 Sentai Goes User? I want to watch it again. I would say I would watch it here on YouTube, but like I want to pull it up and rewatch it, but Toei is atrocious for copyright strikes, and I'm not about to. But it looks good. I love the cast of characters who we're going to be getting. I am still a little bit unsure as to what it is that they're going to be doing in the sense of the theme fully, at least from the trailer itself. But Toku Nation did go ahead and drop a really insightful article. If you guys don't mind, I'll actually let me stop sharing this for a minute. I do want to share this and go over the Goes User stuff. I found it really fascinating. Number 1 Sentai Goes User. This is where they did the full reveal. They had a big press conference the other day. Goju Wolf. The main character is Tono Horu. Tono is a strong man with a good heart, but also unsociable and foul-mouthed. Oh, he sounds like a real asshole, which caused him to bounce between jobs. Makes sense. When his spirit is high, he has a tendency to howl. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Pat Red from Pat Ranger and Lupin Ranger. Unsociable to say the least, because he was like the officer. I wouldn't say foul mouth, but he definitely was really hot tempered for sure. So there's elements of Pat Red in here for sure. But yeah, Tono Goju Wolf sounds like he's supposed to be the bad boy, maybe. Goju Leon, character Riku Hayakuya. Riku is a constant people pleaser and strategist. In the past, he was a famous idol, but an untold incident forced him to leave. Maybe a sexual allegation or something. I'm just kidding. The only reason why I said that is because from the trailer, he seems like he's like almost like a smooth talker or something like that. Like I saw him with like hearts around his face or something. But if he is a famous idol, then clearly people kind of look up to him, or whatever the case may be. But a constant people pleaser and a strategist. He was a famous idol until an untold incident forced him to leave. Interesting. Goju Tyranno, character Ryugi Bakugami. Ryugi is a physically strong but naive who worships the ancient power of the Tega sword, even at the cost of being an outcast from his family. Ooh, that jumps out to me. That's a really cool character bio. Physically strong but naive and worships the ancient power of the Tega sword, even at the cost of being an outcast of from his family. Interesting. I do love the idea, like if he's worshiping something, like I wonder what the history behind this Tega sword is. Goju Eagle, character named Kinjiro Takahara. Kinjiro is a high school student with a very serious nature who wants to become more relaxed and enjoy partying. He too is estranged from family. Interesting. So a lot of these people sound like they're outcasts. Unsociable, foul-mouthed, lost his job, or tendency bouncing between jobs. Something happened to this famous idol and he's been forced to kind of leave. The guy's been outcast from his family. Now this guy is also estranged from his family. High school student with very serious nature who wants to become more relaxed and enjoy partying. That's an interesting one there. And Goju Unicorn, character Sumino Ichikawa. Sumino was a police academy candidate, but was ostracized by fellow candidates and forced to leave. So she now works as a private detective, unafraid to use her charms as weapons when necessary. Okay. I like that one too. She's definitely going to be using her pretty looks and the way that she speaks to people for sure to kind of get what she needs. Interesting. But yeah, I kind of dig the idea that they're all outcasts in some way, shape, or form. Uniting the five strays in the mighty Tegasword, voiced by Yuki Kaji, huh? In the past, Tegasword ended a tremendous calamity between Super Sentai Robos. Wait, is the Tegasword their big robot? In the past, Tegasword ended a tremendous calamity between Super Sentai Robos, but at the cost of splitting his powers into Sentai rings. I'm wondering if that Tegasword and that Super Sentai Robo battle is what we see in the trailers. His powers into Sentai rings that have scattered across the universe. Sentai rings are attracted to those with strong wishes, which will lead to the battle for the rings to determine who is truly number one in the universe. The mysterious villain group Braden will attack Earth as part of the plot to awaken Tegasword for themselves. Leading the Braden group is a unique fusion creature, Mr. Shining Knife and Mrs. Sweetcake. The undefeated Special Attack Force leader Fire Candle will lead the main assault against the Ghost users, or maybe that's like their first general. Fire Candle is a passionate fanatic maintaining an unusual friendship with Goju Wolf. Aiding the Fire Candle is Bouquet, played by Marupi. There will be it premieres February 16th. However, the special episode 0 of the new Super Sentai will air February 2nd. Okay, so what, like 2 weeks from now? Or next week? Wow. That's going to happen here really soon, man. Damn, I never got a chance to finish Boom Boom Girl. That's cool. I mean, it seems like there's a little like bridal themes, like wedding themes in here. Candle, bouquet, Sentai rings. Interesting. I like it. Yeah, man, I'm down for this. It sounds interesting to me. So yeah, I'll check it out for sure. Ram Jam. Maybe I'll end up doing a Ghost User video later on this week when I feel a little bit better. Doomsday and the Samurai theme song. Don't you find it pretty jarring how the Rangers had to shout out their names, but not the supporting actors? No, I always felt supporting actors never really got to shine on, especially opening credits. Have you ever noticed that ever since Super Sentai opening theme song is always way over a minute long? If so, why do you think that is? It's definitely a different culture for sure. You know, they celebrate. Super Sentai has always kind of celebrated music, though. I feel like, even traditionally, I don't know if it's because of the bands if it's like a highlighting of the bands or not, but I don't know. I don't know why that is. It definitely is a cultural thing for sure. And it's usually like the opening theme and then the ending theme always feel vastly different. But I like the idea of it being an opening theme, at least it being that long. I think for me, it really sets the tone of what the series is really going to be. And I always appreciated that. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you in Brave New World? I want to say a 10, but in reality, I'm like at a 6.5. I'm at like a 6.5. And I only say that because while I've liked the trailers, there just seems like there's just so much going on. And with the Red Hulk and the leader, then you got Isaiah Bradley's story in there. There's just a lot of moving pieces. And coming in at 1 minute and 59 seconds, I'm just wondering... And then Sidewinder in here. Like, there's just a lot of moving pieces. At least the way that the trailer has presented itself to me. I really want this to be a successful movie for Anthony Mackie. Like, I truly do. I want this to be a great Captain America movie. But it just seems like there's a lot of moving pieces, and with all the resets, the reshoots, and the rewrites that this movie has had, I hope it doesn't feel like a movie that has had a different types of scripts, you know. And I do think that there's something too about, you know, I really liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I thought it always had a really great message and a really great way of thrusting Sam Wilson into the spotlight. And I understand, like, even though I know Malcolm Spellman, the writer of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, went on to become the writer for Brave New World before all these other writers came in, you know, there is a different vibe to movies than there is television series. So maybe there's aspects of what he wrote for the movie itself that just didn't vibe well for like a 2-hour film. But I think what Malcolm Spellman brought to Falcon and the Winter Soldier was understanding Sam Wilson as a character and the struggles that he has as Captain America and being a black man with the Stars and Stripes. And there is a part of me that hopes, or I should say, there's a part of me that worries that the reshoots have caused some of that messaging and societal issues to be kind of taken out of the movie in order to create a more family-friendly popcorn flick, if that makes any sense. I want this movie to have punch. I want this movie to have gravitas. I want this to be a movie that stays with us because it impacts us as people and makes us really think about not us as people, but just also our government and society in general. I want this movie to challenge us in ways that other movies from Captain America have. And so I'm kind of worried. I'm going to go see it for sure, opening weekend. But I'm not going to lie when I say I am worried about the film. I want it to be successful. I haven't seen anything of it really, but I'm hoping for more good than bad. But as far as like what my confidence is, I'm at a 6.5 right now. Marcelino, it doesn't look like all your questions came up, so I'm gonna have. If anything, let me see if I can pull them on my phone. I'll kick off with this though. About a year ago, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Moon Knight were released on DVD and were labeled as season 1. Fans began to theorize that maybe they would get a season 2, but 1 year later, that doesn't appear to be the case. Did you have similar theories about this? Yeah, I mean, well, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I kind of was always under the impression it was going to be a one-off. Moon Knight, on the other hand, I definitely could have seen as a season 2 for sure. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I always was under the impression it was going to be just a one-off, because it would just be weird to me. What would season 2 be called? Because it wouldn't be called Falcon and the Winter Soldier anymore. I mean, maybe they could have retitled it Captain America and the Winter Soldier or something like that, but unless, you know, Joaquin Torres winds up becoming the lead and winds up working with Bucky. I just didn't see it. So I was always under the impression that was going to be a season 1, but Moon Knight, yeah, I expected that to be at least a season 2. Creature Commandos ended with the team getting new members, and one of them is Khalis the Mummy. His inclusion has led to the theory that what might happen in season 2. There's a comic, Frankenstein Agent of Shade, issue 12, where he resurrects Nina. And as a result, she's given the ability to breathe on land as well. The only problem with this theory is James Gunn being dead rule. James Gunn has a rule where whenever characters die, they stay dead. No resurrections or fake out deaths. He wants death to have meaning and consequences. But he has broken his own rule before with Peacemaker, where Bloodshot presumably killed him, the Suicide Squad, only then to be revealed that he survived. So maybe he might take another exception. What are your thoughts on this theory? I never heard that theory. Maybe that was something that, like, in his Guardians of the Galaxy time, I don't know if did he state that when he was doing Peacemaker or Suicide Squad. I'm curious as to when he stated that. I would love Nina to come back, honestly. I really would. That would be one that I would like to have as an exception for, because I just feel bad for her. I mean, granted, maybe it's the tragedy of it all that really works. And if she doesn't get brought back, I mean, that's the crux of moving characters like the bride forward in her own character development. So maybe you keep her dead, but I really would love to have her back because she shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. But I do like that theory. I hope it happens. But yeah, I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't keep that rule. I mean, I understand why he has that rule. I think it's an important rule to have. But if the exception makes sense, then do it. Adam, how would you handle yourself if your son started to side with the anti-woke crowd or geeks and gamers and started believing what they said? Man, I don't know. I do think about that. I mean, granted, my son's only 3 years old, but there's a lot of influences out there. I'm not always going to be able to, I'm not always going to be able to be there to watch what he watches or see what he's watching. It has crossed my mind before. I think more or less in the sense of like, who will my son become as he gets older? And look, the only thing that I can do as a father is just prepare him as best as I can. One of the things that I've always told myself, especially with him being mixed, he's Black, Puerto Rican, and Mexican. One of the things that I have always told myself, and I've told this to my girlfriend too, is like, I don't want him to ever forget where he came from. His grandparents are Black, but when he looks around here, outside of me being Black and Puerto Rican, there's no really like brown skinned people around here. Well, I mean, like darker skinned people, outside of like, the Mexican family that we have. So there's a part of me that wants to make sure that he understands his history, the struggle that his grandparents and those that came before him certainly went through. Hopefully I can do my part to educate him on African and Black, African American and Black history in general. Make sure he continues to read. Make sure he branches out his level of reading. My mom growing up as a kid, she used to, because I was a big comic book reader. She used to not collect, but she used to get me these comic books that were about African American leaders throughout history. And people that had impacts, from like Rosa Parks to Harriet Tubman to Franklin Douglas. It's just Martin Luther King, right? I mean, the comic books that would show their life, like just something that would be easy for me as a kid to read. And I don't know if I fully appreciated them as much as I did as a kid that I do now, wishing that I had them. But looking back on it, I see the importance of it. And so, my duty as a parent is really just going to be to have to raise him as best as I can. Make sure he gets the proper education in regards to the history lessons that he deserves to know about. Make sure that he has a close connection with his grandparents and have, my mom and my stepdad really emphasize. I just don't want him to lose and forget where he comes from, and then just educate him as best I can in regards to being able to take him to a good school. I know college is expensive, and I know some people look at it as like a scam. I say, tuition is more of a scam than I think college is, but there's a level of me that I do want my son to go to college. While I went to college, I didn't finish college, but I think that there is a value in being educated. And I don't think education makes you smarter than other people. I don't, people get offended in the sense when people say like, oh, you're not as educated, or that you need this, you need a college degree and stuff. No, I mean that in the sense of like the ability to comprehend, the ability to understand what it is that you're reading, and to critically think for yourself. While you could do some of those in high school, in high school can prepare you for that. I do think college is another step along that path, and be an opportunity to be around other people that are not your own. So I think all of that is pivotal for a person's growing up, you know. And look, not everybody goes to college, right? But I think if we get a good education, if we got a good head on our shoulders, if we got a good family around us, you know, I'm hopeful that my son won't get bogged down with all the nonsense that's out there in the world today. That's all. Just to challenge your argument for a moment, what if your son says that they agree to disagree and should just respect your difference of opinion? You know, he's his own man. I hope he comes around one day, though, you know. But yeah, to each their own. I mean, I can't force him to believe something, you know. If he wants to ostracize the family and step away and do his own thing, then, you know, I did as best I could. It is what it is, man. Sam, all Kamen Rider series are on Tokusatsu channel. It's really awesome. Very cool. I'll have to check that out. Would you like to see other Batman villains own movie like Catman and Killer Croc, or maybe Bookworm? Maybe not. Killer Croc might be interesting. Like their own movies, Killer Croc would be interesting. I think Scarecrow would still be an interesting one. I think Mr. Freeze is begging to be one. I'm not. Clayface clearly is one, but I don't necessarily know if I need too many of those type of movies, you know. But those would be some of the ones I'd be interested in checking out. Blossom, are you guys excited for the new Sentai coming? I sure hope that this Sentai gets me hooked, kind of like Kira Major got me hooked by the creativity of creators, as well as how they imagined my sweet Babu. I think this will blossom. I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty exceptional series of Super Sentai. So I'm definitely going to be paying attention. Do you think the Sixth Ranger they got would be a Phoenix Ranger like the ones they had in Cure Ranger or Change Man? I would dig that. Either a Phoenix Ranger would be cool, or give me like a Griffin Ranger. I would dig that. Oh, going back to one of the things Marcelino said, I found something feasible. James Gunn, when asked on Instagram if Yondu will return, he said if a character dies, he wants them to stay dead. Okay, so it feels very much like that might be his time during Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm kind of glad that Yondu certainly didn't return for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So I'm glad that he certainly stuck to that. And whether or not that's something that he stays with him as he goes over the DCU now that he's the head of the studio, who knows? The most talented man alive, Daredevil Born Again trailer. The recent trailer has ignited excitement among fans and the triumphant return of the original Netflix cast, along with the inclusion of John Bernthal, has been met with immense enthusiasm. This is a decision by Kevin Feige to retain the original actors. Exemplifies the adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, by seamlessly integrating these beloved characters from the Netflix series. Feige has acknowledged the enduring fan affection and the quality of the original work. The trailer further solidifies the connection of the Netflix series by acknowledging the continuity of the characters. Fisk's direct reference to Matt Murdock's past as a vigilante underscores the understanding that these are not new interpretations, but the same characters audience have come to know and love. While fans eagerly anticipate the series, there's a cautious optimism that will remain true to the spirit of the original. While navigating the complexities of the MCU, concerns exist regarding the potential impact of the MCU's frequent use of the multiverse concept, which some fans find to be overused and the potential detrimental to the series' unique identity. I definitely get that concern, but I almost have like 100% belief that this will not even tackle anything multiverse related. And I say that in the sense of, because it's under the Marvel Television banner now, they have gone a really long way to emphasize that some of the Marvel Television projects will feel like projects of their own, not necessarily connected to the bigger overall MCU storyline that's taking place. So at least in season 1, I'm not expecting multiverse anything to kind of touch this season, but we'll still have to wait. Ultimately, the success of Born Again will depend on its ability to honor the legacy while embracing the broader MCU context, maintaining the series' gritty and mature tone while avoiding the pitfalls of excessive multiverse elements is crucial for satisfying both longtime fans and new audiences. Furthermore, adhering to the concise narrative arc, perhaps limited to 2 or 3 seasons, can help prevent series from succumbing to the potential of diminishing returns that often accompanies extended storylines. Now, I totally agree with you. I have a little bit of faith, though, that this series will stay away from anything multiversal. I think they're really going to be focusing on just the gritty crime drama that is New York. They've had some really great articles come out from GamesRadar.com or from the SFX magazine. They've been interviewing the showrunner for Born Again. Here's a couple things that he recently just says. He says, there is more fun in the moments with these characters and a lot less navel gazing than before. He says the earlier show at its best was fantastic. At its worst, it was 2 characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I felt that had been done. I'm not taking swipes. I just didn't want to hear characters grousing about their lot in life. I wanted to see them doing things. He says one of the major changes that they made was the pacing of scenes. He says one of our edicts was longer scenes. You had these long 5-minute scenes of characters hashing it out in order to make space between these massive action sequences. The way stuff has evolved since then, we're able to do big action sequences at a lot more pace. I really feel that Netflix's Daredevil, which I know in my blood was much more noir, and this show is more New York crime story. It has elements of The Sopranos and The Kings of New York. There's a feeling for those classic 90s crime tales. It has a pace and scope that, for a lot of reasons, Netflix wasn't able to do. They were very dark cinematically, not necessarily story-wise, although there were more dark elements. We're much darker. So yeah, the way that he talks about it, I think they're staying completely away from anything multiverse related in that capacity. Jessica Fryman, do you think if they kept Superman and Lois in the Arrowverse, we would have gotten one last crossover team-up event during the final season of Superman and Lois? And do you think it's time for Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen to have their own animated series? At least Spider-Gwen. Miles Morales, I'm ready for him to do Beyond the Spider-Verse and then live action. Spider-Gwen, though, I wouldn't mind an animated series. Do I think we could have gotten one more crossover team-up? I don't know about the last season. No, the last season... if they hadn't stopped Superman and Lois, maybe. But the final season, no. A lot of budgetary reasons. They cut back on a lot of the budget. Even a lot of the recurring lead characters that they had in the previous season were only supporting characters this time around. So no, the final season probably not. But had Superman continued, then yeah, maybe we would have got one more. My friends call me Joseph. What's up, Joseph? Rush Hour 3 revised. Instead of regressing the characters, Rush Hour 3 should have shown James and Lee as family men, dealing with the challenges of balancing their personal lives with their careers. Isabella Molina's off-screen breakup with Lee, the awkward return of So Young, and Carter's continued womanizing were detrimental to the character's arc. A missed opportunity was to turn Tanya Johnson as Carter's wife, adding depth and continuity to the story. I could have been on board with that. The plot involving the Triads and Ambassador Han felt recycled and disrespectful to the original film. The reveal of the French ambassador as the villain was predictable, mirroring the previous film's twist. A more original storyline, perhaps involving Lee's adoptive brother as a rival, would have been more compelling, setting should have split between Los Angeles and Paris for a fresh backdrop. Tone and focus. The constant bickering between Lee and Carter should have been minimized to focus on more mature character interactions. The film should have explored the challenges of returning to action as police officers after settling down. The inclusion of Soo Young, while nostalgic, felt awkward due to the recasting and aging of the character. Do you think this would have been a better approach than if Rush Hour 4 ever comes out? How do you think will work in today's world, considering people are way too sensitive these days? I think Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker will navigate the sensitivity pretty well. It wouldn't surprise me if it's addressed a little bit also in the movie, but I think they would navigate it pretty well. I want to see it. I think it could still certainly work in today's world. Clearly learn something from the mishap that was Rush Hour 3. There are certain things in here I probably would have certainly liked to have seen, especially the idea of becoming a family man. I think would have been really interesting. But maybe you go down the route then of becoming more like Bad Boys than Rush Hour. But I don't know. But I do like some of your takes here for sure. I haven't watched Rush Hour 3 in forever. I always stopped after. Oh, I can't say that. I like to rewatch seasons 1. I mean, Rush Hours 1 and 2, but season 3. I mean, Rush Hour 3 is one that I just never go back to. But I do hope a Rush Hour 4 comes out for sure. Power of the Morphing Grid. During pre-production of Power Rangers Dino Thunder, executive producer Doug Sloan planned to bring back Catherine Sutherland as Catherine Hillard, Tommy Oliver's wife. This would have resolved several plot points. Firstly, it would have addressed the inconsistent and underdeveloped rivalry between Tommy and Zeltrax. By revealing Zeltrax to be Catherine under mind control, this series would have explored a more compelling and emotional resonant conflict. Secondly, Catherine's presence would have provided much needed support for Tommy, who often appeared isolated in his lab. Her return would have been particularly impactful during his coma in the Fighting Spirit episode, offering a poignant display of their enduring love. Furthermore, Catherine's return would have resolved the long-standing mystery of the Zeo powers. As the original Pink Zeo Ranger, she could have potentially reactivated those powers, providing a satisfying conclusion to the storyline. This would have seamlessly connected to a later appearance of Tommy and Kat in Dimensions in Danger and Once and Always, where their enduring relationship and martial arts training of their son, JJ, were established. While Catherine ultimately declined to return due to her retirement from acting, her potential involvement in Dino Thunder highlights the missed opportunities to enrich the series and provide a more satisfying conclusion to the story of Tommy and Catherine. Thoughts? I love that. I wish it would have stayed. I love that idea. That's cool. I didn't know that. And then last but not least, Marky Parko. What's up, Marky? The original Blade film was groundbreaking for their time, successfully blending horror and action with a cool, edgy vibe. While the TV series had potential, it was ultimately short-lived. Damn, there was a Blade TV series? I'm gonna look this up real quick. Something tells me I remember that. Was that like on UPN or some shit? 2006. Oh my God, really? Blade the series, created by David Goyer for Spike. Wow. Man, I haven't heard Spike TV in forever. Shared continuity with the Blade trilogy. Takes place after the film Blade Trinity. Wow. Only one season. Wow. I'd never watched that. That's crazy. I'm excited for the reboot with Mahershala Ali as he's an incredibly talented actor who can bring a new depth and complexity to the character. It's likely Wesley Snipes' cameo was just a fun nod to the character's history, but who knows what the future holds. Maybe a multiverse crossover could happen someday. As for other characters Snipes could play, perhaps a mentor figure or even a villain with a connection to Blade's past. That actor Abraham Whistler comes to mind. He would be a nice role for Snipes to return to the franchise and interact with Ollie's new version of Blade. As far as the multiverse crossover happening, I don't see that happening. I mean, we need a script first. We need a script first for an original Blade movie. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. You know, I don't even know if Snipes would want to take part in a Blade movie. There's a part of, even though I know he's not like, even if Snipes came back, he wouldn't necessarily be playing Blade. But if you've got somebody like Mahershala Ali in the role, I would just say let him just do his own thing in his own series. You know, I don't necessarily know if I need to be connected to that or not. Because I think once you start putting Snipes in there, especially if he's a mentor to Blade, then you start asking questions and maybe it's confusing to some people. I don't know if people will be confused by that or not, but I think the one-off cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine was more than fine. I don't necessarily know if I need Snipes connected to anything Blade related going forward anymore, even if it is in a new role. If there is anything like, especially with Ali getting up there in age too, I am curious how many more Blade movies he would be able to do. You know, I'm sure he probably keeps himself in relatively good shape too, but at some point in time, I wouldn't be surprised if, especially with the MCU and them bringing in younger generation characters, if Ali eventually becomes a mentor to maybe his daughter in the comic books, adapted into live action at some point in time. Maybe Blade gets his own movie, but maybe in a sequel or final film, maybe he's more of a mentor or something like that. So I don't expect Ali to have a long tenure as Blade, but I didn't think Hugh Jackman would stick around as long as he did either. And look at him, right? So who knows? But yeah, like I maybe had this happen like 10 years ago, maybe. But yeah, as of right now, I'm cool with Snipes only doing the one-off for Deadpool and Wolverine. But I am excited for this Mahershala Ali movie. I'm ready. I need some movement. I don't know why it's so hard to make a Blade movie. It's kind of crazy. But that will do it for all of our live viewer questions, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, remember, we'll always drop live viewer question posts Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening for you guys to go ahead and drop in a question. We always love taking questions from you guys. Always appreciate the thoughtfulness behind them for sure. Marcelino said they could just use CGI to de-age Ollie like they did with Kurt Russell. True. I was always worried about de-aging though. It doesn't make me like de-aging just never looks good to me, you know. I don't know if I found a really great de-aging yet. But we'll see. But yeah, guys, that will do it for me today. Your boy's throat is killing him. My chest hurts a little bit. I'm gonna go try and take some decongestive medicine, see if I can't kick this out of my system a little bit and start to feel better tomorrow. I'll probably pop some knock back some vitamin C stuff and flush this stuff out, man, so I feel better tomorrow. I gotta go back to work. Marcin says, I thought Kurt Russell looked great. Is this from Monarch? Or Kurt Russell from what? And Will Smith from Gemini. The Gemini stuff actually looked pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. I will agree with you there. I thought the de-aging from him actually looked pretty good. But yeah, guys, that will do it for me here. If anything, we'll certainly plan on being back next week. I don't expect any breaks for the next couple of weeks here. Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yeah, that actually, maybe the flashback. hit or miss for me. Hit or miss for me. Then again, the whole movie's kind of hit or miss for me personally, but we'll see. But yeah, as far as I know, we shouldn't have any breaks for APlus Hero Report in the next coming weeks. So certainly expect us next Sunday. Hopefully I should have somebody to be able to watch Kiddo. His grandma wound up having the flu, and his grandpa on last notice wind up being stuck with work, so nobody could really watch Kiddo for me. So I had to wait till Cindy got home before I went live with my show tonight. But hopefully everything should be back to normal scheduled programming, if not 11 a.m. next Saturday, and then maybe around 2:30. But we'll definitely keep you guys posted. But we'll certainly be here next Sunday. Probably talk a little bit. If anything, we will be doing reviews for The Amazing Spider-Man or Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Episodes 1 and 2 dropping on Wednesday. So I'll look for either Thursday or Friday for our reviews for that. And then maybe a couple of other upcoming reviews for Oscar-nominated films that I'm going to go ahead and tackle and watch and talk about here with you guys. So yeah, we have a ton of stuff certainly headed your way, but that will do it for us here. And look, if you guys want me to do, it's been hard for me to stick with a full season of Super Sentai. I don't remember the last time I stuck with a full season of Super Sentai. Was it? Man, I can't even remember. I would like to try and review Go's User, but I have no idea if I'm going to be sticking with it. But we'll see. We'll have to see. But maybe I'll at least kick it off and we'll see. But if you guys want me to do the reviews for it, let me know. But all right, guys, other than that, that's going to do it for me here. I'll certainly see you guys next week. But in the meantime, do me a favor, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.